and Bob
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton.
Welcome, everybody. It's Wyman and Bob. This is Seattle Sports on 710, seattlesports.com. Hope everybody enjoyed that Mariner game. We are just inching closer and closer to opening day next Thursday here in Seattle. It's going to be a glorious day. Can't wait for that. We got Jon Morosi coming up today for his weekly conversation, so make sure you stay tuned for that. That'll happen at 5 o'clock. Text line is there for you at 866-979-3776. You want to weigh in on the Mariners, the finale of the WBC, which took place last night, and U.S. didn't win, Dave. They didn't win.
I know.
It's a new national nightmare.
I'll tell you what, when Bryce Harper hit that home run, and I have to admit, when they bumped to the commercial and they played Freebird, I got really excited.
Were you feeling all patriotic? Did you stand up and salute the TV?
Yeah, I like how Bryce Harper pointed. First, he looks down at his sleeve like to see which side the American flag is on, because one has like a logo. Yeah. And then he locates it, and then he points to it as he crosses. I thought that was cool. I loved it. I love Bryce Harper. And, you know, he's one of those guys because he did such a 180 on him. I thought he was the biggest clown in the world.
He's the one that had the classic, that's a clown question, bro.
Yeah, he was really, he didn't know how to handle it. He was young, obviously, and now he's one of those guys you root for. But remember the thing where somebody lost, there was a little kid that was lost, and he helped him find his parents.
Yeah.
And, he's grown up, basically. But, yeah, I mean, I was fired up there, and I'm like, oh, man, this is going to be great. And, no Cal Raleigh, and that was kind of peculiar. But, I mean, Eugenio being the hero, I mean, it made it, I guess, a little bit better. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to dislike Gino Suarez, who came up with the go-ahead RBI in the ninth inning.
Into left center field, headed for the gap, and Venezuela has retaken the lead. And Eugenio Suarez just like that.
Huge hit for him. He was beyond fired. By the way, that was a very pro-Venezuela crowd.
Yeah.
The U.S. fans were severely outnumbered. I mean, volume, person, I mean, that was a big deal for Venezuela. Good for them. And Gino, beyond excited after the game, talking about what made their team so special.
The union, we are together the whole time. We're not just teammates, we are family. This team is awesome. We are family here. That's why we play with passion, with love, because we feel that the jersey, we feel our country in front of us. That's why this is a lot for us as players, as a people, as a human beings, and as a Venezuela. Now we are the champion.
He's so excited. I was happy for him, man. I was
too.
Like, U.S. was going to lose. I'm glad it was Gino.
Yeah,
because he's a great guy. I mean, Seattle loved him. The clubhouse loved him. The management everybody loves Gino.
Yeah. Whether
you think he's a good player, not a good player, whatever you think of that, but just he's a good dude, and just to see how much it meant to him and that team, and good for them, man. It was. I thought the WBC was a cool event. Again, I didn't put as much into it as some others did. You know, the whole national pride. It's not the Olympics. It's a tournament. It's an exhibition tournament, but it was cool. I thought it was great for baseball. You had some cool moments and upsets, and Italy was a great story there, and you know, Venezuela getting the win. They weren't supposed to win. It was supposed to be the U.S. or the Dominican, and they took care of business. They took out Japan. They took out the U.S. So good on them.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think it's great for the sport. It's great for Major League Baseball to make it a worldwide event. So, it was a lot of good players on that team, and you know, you look at. I don't know. I think it meant more to Venezuela than maybe it would have if the U.S. had won. Mm-hmm. Maybe, but it was cool, and it just softened the blow that Suarez, because I just remember the time. I remember when he came in, and I was telling my mom about him. Like, you know, we're watching some of the games together, and I'm like, this guy came in here, and he had like half his hair was black, and the other side was blonde, and he had...
It was white, wasn't it? It wasn't like Cruella de Vil or whatever. It was like silver or white or something.
Yeah, and I just remember going, who's this guy? Who does he think he is? And then you find out, oh, he did it for his 3 little girls.
Yeah,
they like
daughters
it when
love it.
Yeah, and then, I think he had his painted fingernails and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, you got to love this guy. And then we got a chance to talk to him, and just a gem of a person.
Yeah.
So, that definitely softened the blow a little bit.
Yeah, text in if you watched that last night and if it made it the loss more palatable that it was Geno, because it did for me. It did. I'm not going to make it seem like I was living and dying with every moment of the tournament. It was cool. It was fun. It was baseball, so it was good to see some of the best face off against each other. I thought that was cool. But seeing Geno and just how emotional he was, that was pretty cool. Yeah. Now the other story was Cal Raleigh did not have a good tournament. In fact, he went hitless. He was 0 for 9 with 4 walks and didn't play in the last 2 games. DeRosa elected just to have him sit. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I was curious about that.
Do you like DeRosa as much now?
I don't.
You loved DeRosa before this.
Well, he was always so cool and such a great interview, and I really enjoy watching, that show. So was it? What do they call it? MLB? I can't
remember. Is it Intentional Talk, or is that a different one? I don't know which one he's on.
But yeah, I mean, he's just a very reasonable, good guy. A lot of sense of humor, the whole thing. He knows our guy JP. Remember we were asking him about JP's driving.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
But yeah, I mean, just a little bit. I'm like, that's interesting. And I'm sure that he'll be asked that question, and maybe it'll come out. But yeah, off to a slow start, and Julio wasn't. He didn't exactly light the World Baseball Classic on fire either.
Yeah, I think he had a couple of hits, but nobody. That was the problem with Team USA, is the offense just went to sleep.
Yeah.
You had, Aaron Judge striking out. You had Schwarber striking out left and right. I mean, it was just guys got shut down. That's an all-star lineup that got handled. You know, so yeah, it wasn't unique to Cal. It wasn't unique to Julio. You saw good pitching beat good hitting, and that's the old adage. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that just maybe if anything that reinforces how crucial it is for the Mariners rotation to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Because when they're healthy 1 through 5 and they're dominant, their offense can sputter, and it'd be great if they didn't, but they're going to, more often than not, great pitching is going to beat great hitting. And you saw it again throughout this tournament. And yeah, it was fun. It was cool, but now I'm ready for the regular season.
Well, I was going to say, I thought about you and, what we talked about, and now that it's over and okay, let's get back to work with the Mariners. That is probably the most relief, I think, as far as what you're feeling emotionally about it. Just glad to have the guys home and, getting ready for the Mariners season.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, I'll say your guy DeRosa he's come out of this probably not nearly as shiny as he went in.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of people that think he's an idiot. He didn't know what was going on in the tournament. They're questioning his lineups and who he played, who he didn't. I feel like this was just kind of a negative for him.
Yeah.
This didn't do anything to make him more popular or more increase his profile in a positive way.
Yeah. Well, and like we talked about, like the WBC the time before was Shohei Ohtani facing Trout and striking him out. This one was a little bit of the Cal Raleigh Rosarena thing, and then Mark DeRosa.
Yeah.
Kind of hits home a little bit.
360. DeRosa is an idiot. Why wasn't Mason Miller in the game after an off day? I don't know. There are a lot of questions. I don't know. A lot of these teams do have agreements about workload for their players. Right. Their major league clubs have agreements. So, yeah, I don't know if that was in play or what was going on. But, yeah, he's definitely taken some shots, some slings and arrows on the heels of this. But there were some key storylines that emerged from the WBC. We'll get into that conversation and more with Best of the Rest coming up with Wyman and Bob at Seattle Sports on 710.
9 out of 10 experts agree wearing earbuds at work is the universal signal for leave me alone. So grab the earbuds, pull up the Seattle Sports app, and trade that annoying coworker's endless yapping for this.
He's at the wall. Cal Raleigh's first one of the spring.
Listen to every Mariners spring training game live for free, only on the Seattle Sports app. Improving lives through Mariners baseball, one
sparkling play by Josh Naylor
at a time.
Imagine all that can happen in 5 years. Jobs may change, kids will grow, new memes are going to come out, but what if you had reliable, intelligent Wi-Fi and the price never changed for 5 years? Well, thanks to the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee, you don't have to worry about that part of your future. You're guaranteed 5 years of Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to your devices that need them the most. That finds and fixes any issues before you even notice them. It's like a super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected from online threats. You get incredible gaming speeds on multiple devices and no one battling for bandwidth. For the next 5 years, all your devices will be working in perfect harmony, and you get our best equipment with no annual contracts, no fees, and no strings attached. So even though kids will grow up and you still won't understand 6-7, your internet's going to stay sharp, reliable, and most importantly, the price will stay put. Plus, get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi, all with the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions do apply. Select plans only.
See country star Aaron Lewis and the State Liners at Muckleshoot Casino Resort, March 24th at 8 p.m. And now an added show on March 25th. He's a multi-platinum artist whose raw lyrics and powerhouse vocals have captivated fans for decades. Now he and his band, the State Liners, are coming to Muckleshoot Casino Resort. Get your tickets now to see Aaron Lewis at muckleshootcasino.com.
Are you looking for a job or perhaps a better job? We're hiring at Pacific Power Batteries with formal training about batteries of all types, customer service, and safety in the workplace. If you're tired of some crappy job where you are now, visit PacificPowerBatteries.com. After 90 days, you'll be eligible for a paid health insurance premium, a health savings account, our bonus program, paid vacation, and more. Or stop in and talk with a store manager at Pacific Power Batteries, where good people sell reliable batteries. Come on by.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Dave Wyman here to talk about a revolutionary treatment for prostate cancer. It's Swedish, called CyberKnife. And who better to explain it than Dr. Meyer? He's part of the most experienced prostate cancer treatment team in the Northwest, specializing in Swedish CyberKnife. Dr. Meyer, what can you tell us about a prostate cancer diagnosis?
Well, being diagnosed with prostate cancer is life-changing, but realize that there are a lot of excellent treatment options.
What makes CyberKnife so effective?
Well, the CyberKnife targets radiation precisely on the prostate cancer and spares the surrounding vital organs. Swedish CyberKnife patients report a better quality of life and fewer side effects during and after treatment compared to other options. Also, the treatment is completed in just 5 short sessions.
Accurate, precise, and with proven results. Learn more about CyberKnife for prostate cancer at swedish.org/CyberKnife prostate or give them a call, 206-320-7187. 877. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish Cyberknife.
The countdown is on.
Just 8 days until opening day next Thursday against the Guardians at T-Mobile Park.
On the home of the American League West champion Mariners, Seattle Sports. KIRO AM Seattle. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
The Philadelphia Eagles have acquired veteran quarterback Andy Dalton from the Carolina Panthers in exchange for a 2027 seventh-round pick, according to Adam Schefter. Philadelphia had been looking to prioritize the quarterback room. Sam Howell's departure in free agency to the Cowboys created an opening alongside franchise quarterback Jalen Hurts. So they bring in the 38-year-old Andy Dalton. Meanwhile, former Seattle Mariner and now a member of the Washington Nationals, Harry Ford, has been optioned to AAA Rochester. He was hitting just about 214 during spring training, so he'll go down there. They've got two other options. Keibert Ruiz and Drew Millis will be the club's catching tandem at the beginning of the season.
Snapshot brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This hour is serviced by the Lee Johnson Auto family.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Wyman and Bob.
On Seattle Sports.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton.
Text line is there for you at 866-979-3776. Some people weighing in on DeRosa, weighing in on Gino. A lot of people agreeing with us that, hey, good for Gino, man. Cool to see him come up with that moment and more importantly, seeing how much it meant to him and to that team. I don't know that you would have gotten that reaction out of Team USA if they had won. I mean, that was a huge deal for Venezuela. So I'm happy for him. Good for them. And others thinking DeRosa's an idiot. So that continues.
That's too bad. That's really too bad. Obviously he knows baseball, and it's just something stupid that I think also a lot of people like to drag people down a little bit. Like, oh yeah, I knew that and he didn't, so therefore I know ball and he doesn't know ball.
That this somehow validates their knowledge and discredits him.
I knew it. I could probably manage the team.
Yeah.
And I would have put Cal Raleigh in there. Damn it!
I don't know why they didn't call these people. They just went with DeRosa. They were lazy. Continue to text in on that if you'd like. 866-979-3776. Time to take a listen to some of the other conversations happening on the station with Bump and Stacy, Brock and Salk. We call it Best of the Rest.
We know you love listening to us, but there are great discussions happening all over our station.
No, you idiot. It's the Bills.
You can die when you're dead.
Yep, just not good at bats.
Turn it down.
It's time for the Best of the Rest.
How dare you?
You can die when you're dead.
I gotta say, man, Bumpus gets me almost every day. I'm listening to him driving in. I'm like,
was that a malaprop, though? Was he trying to say you can sleep when you're dead? Is that what he was trying to say?
Like throw under the
He
table?
screwed it up?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a mess up. That was a screw up.
He says some funny things, though. I mean,
it's even funnier when you're not trying.
It's like, why are you tripping? He has a lot of different little phrases that just crack me up.
We'll start with Brock and Salk and start with their conversation about the WBC on the heels of USA, losing and all that. They talk about their biggest takeaways from the World Baseball Classic.
It's pretty clear that the Americans play the game one way, and many of the Latin players play it a different way, and many of the Asian, especially the Japanese players, play it a third way. Like, you're just watching different versions of the game of baseball. It's part of what has made this tournament fun to watch, is seeing these different versions of the game on display. Mm-hmm. The question I have is, what does it then look like when they all get back together? And, some of the challenges we see on a day-to-day basis of this game, some of the challenges they sometimes have in clubhouses or team against team. Mm-hmm. And then also some of the challenges, like, would baseball be better if it was played all the time the way the Latin guys play it?
Well, you know what's funny about saying America, and I know Lyle knows this too because he's watched and watches a lot more of it. Sulk, you, I think, rarely do, and that is watch college baseball in America.
Yeah.
Watch the SEC baseball in America.
Yep.
Go watch what happened in the Georgia-Tennessee game this weekend. Like, this is not just America. Like, the SEC is as flamboyant, as loud, as cocky, as whatever labels you want to put on. It's played in America.
Mm-hmm.
And that's college baseball and the ACC to some degree as well. So, yeah, I don't know if this is just a straight American baseball.
But then why do those same guys get to the big leagues and not take that fun factor?
I don't know.
Into
It'll be interesting to watch the San Francisco Giants this year. They decided to pluck the Tennessee manager, so maybe they want to inject a little bit of that
fun factor.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly you could say they are definitely, especially the Latin players, more demonstrative, more showing a lot more passion. I'm not going to say they're more passionate about it, but they're certainly outwardly more passionate. They're more, I don't know, and maybe it means more to them. Maybe that it's as simple as that, because I honestly don't think. I mean, you saw the reaction. They've been replaying it as we've been sitting here, seeing the Venezuelan players at the end of that game. I mean, just tears and on their knees and the flag wrapped around them and just that was their World Series essentially. I don't see Aaron Judge and Cal doing that after the game. Not that they wouldn't be happy by any stretch, but to that level, I don't know that it meant as much to the U.S. team as it did to the Dominican or Venezuela or many of the other teams.
Well, I mean, I think the culture part of it is that's what baseball has always kind of been about. Like, it's a very honorable game here, and you don't show anybody up, or it's all about the team. It's not about you. And I'm not saying that's how some of the other countries celebrate or whatever. I think it's very genuine, and it's just how they do it. But it's always been like I mean. Over even like the last 10 or 15 years, like you see how guys do the little skip around third base and when there's a home run. And it used to be, hey, man, if you don't you get there in a certain amount of time, you're going to get thrown at or something, that there's some kind of a cultural thing. And then you can see that that's not the case in other countries. And I think it's, for the Americans, it's probably just kind of a hangover of that. And that's kind of what the culture has always been about. And, I mean, and nobody's wrong, I don't think. It's just that, it does seem to be getting sort of bleeding its way into Major League Baseball, where you do see guys celebrating and doing the bat flip and everything. And, that used to get you, beamed, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's you can look at guys like Fernando Tatis and the way he runs the bases after a home run, his little pause and little jump step on third base. And Randy Arozarena, same thing, very, very demonstrative and celebratory after his home runs. And some people love it, say, hey, it's great for the game. And the old school people are like, hey, you don't do that. That's not baseball.
Right.
I'm somewhere in between. I kind of like it. If it becomes so much about them and they're just dragging it out, it's like, all right, come on, pick it up.
Right.
But I don't feel like you have to just lay the bat down and put your head down and run around the bases either. I think there's a middle ground there.
Well, who it makes me think of is Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Barry Sanders would score a touchdown and then run over and give the ball to the ref.
Yeah, there was no celebration. There was no demonstration.
Nothing.
Meanwhile, you see other guys these days who will point to their name on the back and, it's about them. And
and then you see the choreographed. And, and if that bothers you, I would say you're probably old. Which is, look, I just how we grew up. And so, it seems like maybe that WBC vibe is, maybe it'll kind of bleed into, Major League Baseball a little bit. But there's always kind of a solemn thing. Like, it's kind of interesting that, like for the Seahawks, they're letting, there's so many people that, like, on the support staff and everything like that. And every once in a while, like we're on the bus and like before the game, it's like supposed to be solemn, right? That's kind of the culture, that everything's quiet. And it's not so much that way. And it's because there's a lot of younger people being interjected into that. And it's just kind of a cultural thing. I think, like the culture of football or the culture of, and that was one thing. Like, I just remember, like, every bus ride to a game was just quiet as could be. You could hear a pin drop, And now it's not so much that way, and that's just because it's just changing. You know, you're getting different people and different ideas into the game, and it's, you know, the youth and all of that just kind of changes a little bit the culture. But that's just how it goes. It's not like it bothers me or anything like that.
And it's been, I mean, as far as like the home run celebrations and everything, that's been going on for a while. That's not a new thing. You know, the kids today are doing that. That was happening with Manny Ramirez. I remember watching Manny hit a home run, stand in the box, spit, unstrap his gloves, then run. Yeah. I'm like, whoa. And back then, that was like, all right, is he going to wear one next time? Is he going to, you know, they're going to buzz the tower? Are they going to send the message? Like that was, at that time, was considered showing up the pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let me stand here to admire it. I'm going to spit. I'm going to take care of my gloves. Oh, okay, I'll run now.
Right.
So it's definitely, it's been going on for quite a while, but yeah, it's gotten to a new level. Meanwhile, moving on to Bump and Stacy, they were talking about the Seahawks, and they were talking about how, in their opinion, the Seahawks can ace the offseason.
How did the Seahawks ace the offseason? When August rolls around, when training camp rolls around, and let's even say when week 1 rolls around. So we're through the preseason when you still have decisions to make. What does acing the offseason look like?
That's tough.
I know.
Because
very open-ended.
You can't like compare your offseason to other teams' offseason. Because if you do that, you're not going to ace the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can look at what the Rams have done and be like, hey, all right, they've aced it. So it's about you. All right, and you know your situation is different because you're a Super Bowl champion. Your players are going to cost more. Your players are going to ask for more. And this is where players are, their value is the most. Like Kobe won't be worth more than this unless he goes and has like 3 all-pro seasons. All right, Boye, this is probably it too. So how do you ace it? I think you have to do what we talk about not doing in the draft, is address position of needs, right? You needed a running back. You got yourself a running back. What you didn't get were like the top 5 running backs that were out there. But you got a running back. You signed a corner. You signed first you bring back Josh Jobe, and then you just signed a corner this weekend. Acing the offseason for me won't be evident until we start the season, because I'm looking at Wilson, right? I'm looking at him and I see the potential, but he wasn't a starter. He only has X amount of carries, right? So you're projecting. I'm like, all right, I can see where they're going with that. For me, it would be making sure that you're 2 or 3 deep at positions that you lost and that you're developing. But we won't know until the season starts, honestly.
Yeah, I'm very, very curious. And I think this is the reason being just because of Mike McDonald's, you know, program and the way he runs things and the way he looks at football. I'll be very, very curious to see. And I think, first of all, it probably starts with Boye Mafe for me. Mm-hmm. Like, is he going to be a guy that gets 12 to 16 sacks? And, you know, in that defense is, you know, K9 is another one. And then Kobe Bryant, you know, is he going to excel, or is it maybe this a little bit more of the system? I really don't. I think they're all 3 great players, but, that I think is going to determine whether or not, you know, the question they're asking is, did you ace the offseason? If those 3 guys go and ball out and play, you know, really well, then that's at least one way of measuring whether or not you had a good offseason.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but they're right in that you're not going to be able to make that determination until after the draft, and they assemble this team, because there's unfinished business here. They're not done. Right. You know, whether that means re-signing or signing, I should say, JSN and Spoon to extensions. Those are huge deals. Mm-hmm. Those aren't just, hey, we got to pick up a player. That's huge financial commitments you're about to make, and I assume they're in the process of working through both of those. And maybe a large part of the reason they haven't, you know, as we like to say, taken the big swing. They've taken mini swings in free agency here. They've signed it almost exclusively 1-year deals with all of these guys. Right. You know, and they're just, to me, they're depth moves in some cases. Some they're kind of kicking the tires. Like, all right, let's see what Emmanuel Wilson brings. He can make up to $2.1 million on a 1-year deal. That's not a commitment. Let's see how it goes. You know, that's not a, hey, we found our guy, we're locking him down. So, but he may turn into that. So, you know, I'm trusting their what their eyes are telling them, because they've proven that their eyes are very, very good when it comes to identifying talent, identifying fit. identifying somebody that can blend with the culture there. So, yeah, while they're not sexy pickups, none of them are. They haven't picked up a name yet where you're going, oh, yes, I was hoping they'd get that guy. Some of these guys have had to go back and look. Wait, who? Who's that? So yeah, they're not the sexy picks to this point. They're not the sexy acquisitions, but that doesn't mean they won't be impactful.
Yeah, I'll say this, and you brought him up, and so did Bump. But if you look at Wilson, and you kind of look at, I would say this: if it was Clint Kubiak saying, yeah, that guy can work in this offense, then I would feel a little bit better. But just throwing in the factor that Brian Fleury is new, and does he hasn't really run an offense, so I mean, like I said, if I would say if Clint Kubiak gave his endorsement by signing him, and they signed this deal, I would feel a lot better about it. That's the one thing I think with the coaching changes on offense that makes that even a bigger question mark. But you're right. I mean, they have, and it really goes to John Schneider and, him working with Mike McDonald, and those two guys have a very clear idea. But just the fact that you have a new offensive coordinator, I mean, I would have a lot more confidence in that signing if Clint was still here.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against Brian Fleury other than
you hate him. But no,
it's just it's your first time, and I'm rooting for him, man, obviously. But and all the things that he said, I like. I love that he used the word violence when he was talking about offense.
That's a win.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if Clint Kubiak gives that endorsement, you're thinking, okay, well, he did an amazing job with the run game last year, I thought. Just because, they kept with it, and it didn't start out great, and it got good as far as like average and things like that. But the attempts, and then, down the stretch, it really helped them.
Moving on to Brock and Salk, they were talking about the Mariners and talking about J.P. Crawford, who's getting the a cortisone shot in his shoulder now. Had to go to Texas, have a specialist look at the shoulder. So you're starting to wonder, all right, is he going to start the season? Is he going to miss a couple of games? Is he going to be on the 10-day IL? What's it look like? Nobody has any real clear picture yet. So they were talking about the hypothetical plan for Crawford if he's not ready to start the season.
Whatever the case may be, and you're going to miss the first few weeks of the season, or you can hit but you can't field it. Whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at with the whole idea of Colt Emerson?
Man, he is young.
I know.
And this is one of those situations where I'm at is you make sure you do the best thing you can do for J.P. Crawford for the sustainability of the season, and you make sure you do the best thing for Colt Emerson in the course of his career. That the big leagues is a different animal. That I do think of my dear friend, my umpire in the major leagues. It reminds me of, I'm holding up my palm right now, that the difference between high A and single A and double A is all the width of my fingers. And then the difference between triple A and the major leagues is that thumb space. It is an enormous, enormous step. And make sure he's ready for it.
Yeah.
And make sure there's not an 0 for 35 coming out the gate, right? That there was for a Jared Kelnick, who was a really young guy, and like you thought he was ready to go. So to make sure that he is ready physically, mentally, emotionally, checks all of those boxes. And the other challenge is, don't you want him playing every day?
Well, he would be.
Well,
if that was the situation. I mean, like if JP's out.
That feels like a reach. That feels like I'd like him playing every day at AAA, and let me get some guys that have played at the big league level to start the season.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. It's hard when you don't really know what you're looking at with JP. We don't know does he just miss the first few games? Like Salk was saying there, because a couple weeks, you don't know. But I think ultimately when it comes to Colt Emerson, it comes down to how close they feel he truly is. Because he's not been lighting it up in spring training. Hit a home run yesterday, which was cool to see. But it's been a little up and down, to say the very least, which you would expect. But is he a guy you want to start the clock on his service time if he's going to be here for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and maybe he scuffles? Maybe you think, he's not quite ready. He's close. Ultimately, we think the best idea in a perfect world is him starting in AAA. If that's the case, then you've got Leo Rivas on your team for a reason.
Yeah.
And he should be able to hold it down there and equal what JP does. You got a switch hitter in him. You got a guy who's proven he's a capable player. He's not an all-star, but that's why he's on the roster. He's your utility guy. He's that guy who can play second, who can play short. I don't know, unless ultimately it comes down to this. Who gives you the best chance to win? Your ultimate goal is we want to win. Who gives us the best chance to win night in, night out? If you feel it's Colt Emerson, then go with Colt Emerson. But if you feel like you're not sure and he's not ready yet and Leo Rivas is that, then go with Leo Rivas.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's nice having a guy like Rivas. I mean, like we talked about, you got the corners on the infield are solid, are set, so that's good. And then we'll see with Cole Young. I mean, he's having a great spring and everything, and in much better position to go out there day in and day out. But yeah, you like Brock's thing about I had not heard that. Well, besides that, the thing about your hand. And about how each, single A, double A, triple A, I had not heard that before, and I think that's a good way to look at it. And I don't know, do people get fooled every year, like thinking, oh yeah, this guy's so good, but then you get into the regular season and you don't want to crush the guy. But the other thing about that is that you make it sound like the guy is so fragile that he's going to get crushed. We're going to ruin him by throwing him out there in big league pitching and everything. Well. Maybe that doesn't happen to everybody, but you always say as well that it's just such a huge jump. It is. It's like no other sport.
Yeah, Double A to Triple A is not even close to the jump of Triple A to the major leagues.
Yeah,
and as he talked about, low A to high A, A to Double A to Triple A. Yeah, those are jumps certainly, and the competition gets better, but it's not nearly the jump that it is from Triple A to the big leagues. It just isn't. So. They may be better served with Rivas occupying that spot. I mean, but again, ultimately it comes down to Jerry and Dan and Justin going, who gives us the best chance to win? Yeah. We feel like this guy in the lineup, day in, day out, will provide more opportunity for wins than this guy. So whoever that guy is, go with him.
Well, and Divish's article, was very encouraging. I mean, and Dan was saying, hey, the stuff with JP, it's about as good a news as possible. As far as, for him. So, but, you still have to fill that void for a while, probably.
All right. Coming up, the Mariners are getting closer to making some key opening day decisions. We'll get into that next with Wyman and Bob at Seattle Sports on 710.
Having one of those days where a little of this would make things so much better?
Fastball, strike three called. He got him looking. How about that for a Cactus League debut? Cade Anderson striking out the side.
We got you. You can stream every Mariners spring training game live for free on the Seattle Sports app. Making lives better through Mariners baseball, one
goodbye baseball
at a time. Home of your American League West champion Mariners.
Well, spring is all about getting ready for summer, isn't it? But do you have a room just sitting empty and you've dreamt of making it your own home gym? Hey, Brock Heward here, and working out in your own home, well, it is the best. We've been doing so for years, and you can allow Top Fitness to create your own home gym. Simply give them your room dimensions, and they'll do the rest. A complete fitness room design. It's no secret why everyone, from personal trainers to pro athletes, love Top Fitness. Top Fitness represents the very best brands in fitness, like Precor, Inspire Fitness, along with many others. They also have everything from flooring to weights that go in a home gym. And right now, get spring special financing with 0% interest for 12 months, plus mention me and receive an $150 credit towards any purchase over $1,000. Spring is here to get you in the best shape, so go get into Top Fitness with locations in Tukwila, Linwood, and Bellevue, or simply visit topfitness.com for more info. That's Top Fitness, your best place for home fitness equipment.
Eric Johnson here. I covered a lot of accidents over the past 30 years or so, but I never got to say much about what to do after a crash. Be honest, do you know what evidence to collect, what pictures to take, what documents to request, or what you shouldn't say to your insurance company? The Washington Accident Book Series is a must-have for drivers who want to be prepared for whatever the roads throw at them. Know your rights and how to avoid common mistakes after an accident by getting your free copy at WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Progressive knows you could have easily taken the freeway, but you took the scenic route to see a waterfall and an oddly busy boiled peanut stand. Discovering the unexpected is exactly why you bought an RV, so protect it with a bundle from Progressive. Because although you may be 3 hours behind schedule, you're 6 jars of jam richer and possibly enrolled in a butter churning workshop. Switch to Progressive and protect your RV, boat, or motorcycle by bundling with your home and auto insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Get broadcast times for every Three Tree Roofing Mariners Cactus League broadcast.
Holy smokes, he does it again!
At seattlesports.com.
High five! Up top! Dave's company just got the 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business. Yeah! It's 5 years of gig speed internet, advanced security, and a great rate that won't change. All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Heck yeah! He hasn't given this many high fives since Deborah brought in her famous banana bread. Yes! The Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee. Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. And it's hurting, but I am not stopping.
Woo! For a limited time, now through March 29th, switch to Comcast Business to lock in your rate for 5 years and get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig bundle. Or ask how to get started with 150 megabit internet and Security Edge for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Don't wait. Call today. Restrictions apply. New customers only. 1-year contract required for guaranteed rate. Paperless billing and automatic payments with bank account required. 5-year pricing applies to monthly service charge excluding taxes and fees.
Hey, it's Bob Stelton here, and if you're somebody with joint pain, this will be of interest to you. This Thursday night at 6 p.m., Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, is having a free live webinar to talk about stem cell therapy.
Hi, it's Dave Wyman, and this live webinar is a great education on how using your own stem cells can be an extremely successful method to help regenerate native tissue in rotator cuffs, meniscus tears, and reduce pain in osteoarthritic joints.
Whether it's a hip like I had, a shoulder, elbow, knee, or even wrists and ankles, this live webinar will explain the procedure and how simple and safe it is using your own stem cells.
Learn about stem cell therapy with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, one of the most experienced in the country with over 20,000 stem cell procedures.
Go pain-free in 2026. Join his free live stem cell webinar this Thursday night at 6 p.m.
Register at drmarkwagnermd.com. That's drmarkwagnermd.com.
This hour is serviced by the Lee Johnson Auto family.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Wyman and Bob.
Weekdays 2 to 7
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Text line is there for you at 866-979-3776. Coming up at 5 o'clock, Jon Morosi will join us for his weekly conversation. I'm sure he's basking in the glow of the WBC. He was all over the place. He was in his element, as they say. So I'm sure he had a great time, and we'll have a lot to share with us at 5 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, we're all kind of wondering, who might be the opening day starter. We talked about that a bit yesterday. I think if we're just going on who we think is the one deserving based on who they were last year, and assuming everybody's healthy, it'd probably be Brian Wu that would be going this year. But we'll see what Dan. I think it's between Wu and Gilbert. I think those are your only two options, really. But Dan was asked. This is yesterday after the game. He was asked when he will name an opening day starter.
Yeah, we're going to look at that here in the next day or so, and we should have a little bit more definitive in a day or so. Just making sure everything's laid out the way it should be, and we've got all our I's dotted and T's crossed, and yeah, we're getting very close to setting that.
Well, if you look at the numbers, as far as between those two, just in spring training, 11 and a third for Logan Gilbert, and his ERA was 2.38. And Brian was a little bit further down. He only pitched 7 2/3 during spring training, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, Logan. To me, it's Logan, but I don't know. You never know with Brian Wu. Well, I tell you, the one thing I noticed about Wu, and we didn't get a chance to talk to him, but you just look at the way he carries himself and everything. He's much, much more serious. Mm-hmm. He is a very serious young man, and he's ferocious. So yeah, I mean, I think either one of those is fine, but it just seems to me that Logan and what he means, and also the fact that they've talked about signing him to a long-term deal, that it would be Logan.
Yeah, I don't. And that's the other part we talked about yesterday is I don't know what that means to him in the way that obviously it's an honor and he would appreciate it. I think it was a true honor for him last year to be the opening day starter, but I don't know that he's a guy that is going to get in his feelings about it if he's not the opening day starter. He just doesn't strike me as that guy that if Dan said, look, Logan, we're going with Brian for this reason, whatever he says to him, however he breaks that news. I just picture Logan going, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
he just doesn't it seem like that's how he is? Like, I think he'd love it. I think if he were the guy, he'd really, be appreciative as he was last year. But I just don't see him having an overly negative response to it. So the idea that, hey, we're going to do this because we want to get in his good graces when we approach him about a contract extension, I don't know if it's necessary with him.
Yeah, maybe not. I would say this though, because he can handle it. Maybe sometimes he might get screwed. I mean, that's something you have to be careful of. It's like, oh, okay, this guy can handle it. He'll be okay. So, let's let another guy who can't handle it well. And then you go, if you're a guy like Logan, you might be like, hey, that's part of it. I'm handling all of these things well, and you don't, I think if you're Dan, you don't want it to be because I know you'll handle it better than another player. You want to make sure he doesn't get screwed, because sometimes the nice guy kind of gets screwed. Right?
Yeah, it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease, if you will. So,
and I'm not saying that Brian Wu or anybody else is a squeaky wheel or anything.
I think you called him squeaky,
but I mean, if that comes up in if that's part of the decision making, I think it would be one area where Dan probably needs to be careful and think about it and go, yeah, I don't want to not put Logan out there, because I think it would be better for another guy to have it when Logan's the guy that's actually deserving. And I'm not saying he is either, but I just think that's something you have to be careful of, to not take advantage of the fact that Logan is a really good teammate and just a cool guy.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually don't see any of the guys in that rotation pouting or getting in their feelings about it. Yeah. I just we heard last year about how, I think Logan said it himself, that Luis Castillo was almost more excited than he was.
Right.
That he was the opening day starter, that he was super happy for Logan. So there was, anybody who was worried about, well, Luis is the Rock, you got to let him do it. Otherwise he's going to feel shunned or disrespected or whatever. And he couldn't have been more opposite and celebratory. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't know if they're going to base it on, certainly I know they won't base it on spring training numbers, because they all go out of their way to say, look, the numbers really don't mean anything. It's how does the guy look? How's the ball coming out of his hand? What's his velocity look like? And workload. That would be the one thing that I would look at with Brian Wu and think, all right, are they going to try to baby step him into the season? Because he exceeded his innings mark by 65 innings last year. Whew. I mean, it was only his third season, but the year before he threw 121 and a third innings. Last year he threw a 186 and 2/3. So he went far. He was like Bizzardo. I mean, like his career high in innings was just absolutely eclipsed, to say the very least. So I don't know, and then he had the pec injury toward the end. I don't know if they attribute that to overuse. He had all those starts of, at least 6 innings. Remember, he's on that run of however many starts in a row of at least 6 innings, and just he was piling them up. He was their workhorse. And you wonder if they're like, okay, we saw him sort of break down a little bit physically at the end of the season. We got to be more careful about it. So maybe they manage his innings a little differently to start the year. I don't know. Just sort of speculating on how they may approach him. And maybe that could be part of a reason, in addition to Logan just being a great pitcher, that they might start Logan is the opening day starter.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll see what they do. It'll be interesting to see. But the other question when it comes to the rotation is Bryce Miller. He was Dan again asked after the game yesterday about how Bryce felt after his bullpen that he threw.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bullpens now are to go as hard as he can, and if he feels something, then it's kind of time to back off again. And so it's just a matter of seeing that strength continuing to come back for him. So I think, again, I think it'll be another step forward for him and a step closer to getting back full time. But we'll just have to see how it goes. I mean, it really is a kind of wait and see how he feels when he's throwing. But it's been, the progression has been good. I think it's been going as planned. So don't expect anything different today.
Yeah, I've said in the past, I think that the players have to be aware, and they have to tell, and they have to be honest and truthful about everything. But I think they have enough to measure these guys and get them on tape and the velo and everything to determine whether or not they're at full speed or not.
Yeah. With Bryce, it's going to be, we talked about this as well. Like, whatever, if this is going to be a start, okay, stop. All right, let's start again. Let's stop. Mm-hmm. Then just shut it down for a couple weeks, or whatever the doctors say is the proper amount of rest, of just, hey, no activity, he can jog, he can do, cardio, all that. Don't throw. Don't do anything that's going to put any stress on the oblique for this amount of time. If that's the remedy, if that's the prescription, so to speak, then do that instead of he's good, he threw a bullpen. We had a setback. He's a little sore. It doesn't feel right. You don't want it to be that back and forth that he had last year. And I know that was his arm, that was his elbow, that was a different thing. But just the unevenness of the season and the inability to just kind of develop a rhythm. If he starts out like Kirby did last year, start him out on the IL. I think it's clear he's not going to start the season in the rotation. Mm-hmm. There's just not enough time for him to get stretched out, get his work in before the season starts and his turn comes up. So I think you're going to see Emerson Hancock, presumably, in that 5 spot, which, by the way, I heard today he was touching 98. Heard Gary say that a few times, touching 97, 98.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little jump in velocity for Hancock. So
no kidding.
It doesn't mean he's going to be great, but he's a guy who's proven he can keep you in a game. That's what you're 5. Go out there, give me 5+ if you can, 3 runs or less. Just keep us in the game. Mm-hmm. Your expectation is a little different for that spot typically, but yeah, he's a guy who's proven he can do that. He can keep you in a game. He's a solid pitcher. He's not as dynamic as Wu or Gilbert or Kirby, but he's a guy who's a solid pitcher who can keep you in the game.
Yeah, one more thing about Bryce Miller, I would say that he seems like the most laid back and maybe the guy that's best at going through these kinds of things, just because of his personality, everything. That, everybody else, I mean, Logan's pretty fearsome. Kirby, we know. Wu, we talked about. I don't know about Castillo. But, I mean, it just seems like for Bryce Miller, he's going to be able to handle it okay, because it seemed like, last year, I don't know that he was that way, but, it just seems like he's at his age and his tenure in Major League Baseball that, he's a little bit more laid back and understands things. It's not like he's going to get, mentally out of sorts.
All right, coming up, we got more details that are coming out that make the Ravens look a bit worse and how they handled the Max Crosby trade. We'll hear about that when we sweep the dial. Coming up with Wyman and Bob, it's Seattle Sports on 710.
9 out of 10 experts agree wearing earbuds at work is the universal signal for leave me alone. So grab the earbuds, pull up the Seattle Sports app, and trade that annoying coworker's endless yapping for this.
He's at the wall. Cal Raleigh's first one of the spring.
Listen to every Mariners spring training game live for free, only on the Seattle Sports app. Improving lives through Mariners baseball, one
Sparkling play by Josh Naylor
at a time.
It's Dave Wyman for Harley Exteriors. And, it's funny how you get used to things in not so ideal condition around the house. And what I mean is, for some people, it's a messy garage or a leaning fence. And for me, it was old windows. After 20 years in our home, virtually every window had a broken seal. We got used to cold drafts, outside noises, condensation. If you're in that same boat, use this spring to say goodbye to the old dreary windows and hello to your new exclusive windows from Harley Exteriors. They have the spring cleaning sale going on right now to complete your home makeover. Buy 10 windows and choose from 20% off your entire project or get a free door. And on top of that, make 0 payments and accumulate 0 interest for up to 12 months for qualified buyers. Harley Exteriors windows are a massive upgrade. They're manufactured right here in the Pacific Northwest, and they're exclusive to Harley Exteriors. And they're great people. I've really enjoyed working with them. So call 833-HARLEY, that's HARLEY, or go to harleyexteriors.com and schedule your free consultation and get a bid from Harley at harleyexteriors.com.
Free consultations, no fee guarantees, 5-star reviews. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains the importance of going beyond these familiar offerings.
Accident victims want an attorney, Tom, that satisfies their needs. Someone who handles those needs with the highest degree of care. Pendergast Law offers the no-fee guarantees and free consultations, but these only scratch the surface.
Okay, explain more.
We make sure that every member of our team is genuinely passionate about helping others. Customer service and communication are our top priority. It's how we take care of our clients so they always feel one step ahead of the insurance companies. Our strong reputation for high standards provides comfort and confidence when it's needed most.
Pendergast Law offers the free consultations, the no-fee guarantees, and, of course, they are 5-star rated. But what really makes them different is their genuine passion for helping others. I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
That's PendergastLaw.com.
For those diagnosed with anxiety, depression, or PTSD, Northwest Ketamine Clinics wants you to know hope is within reach. Here's Brandon, a recent patient.
Going to sleep was challenging. Getting my brain to turn off was challenging. Just kind of getting through every day was a bit challenging. Like everything was a little too hard, a little too much resistance, and that just kind of evaporated. After the first few sessions of ketamine, it was noticeable. People remarked on it pretty quickly. I had done maybe 2 sessions, 3 sessions, and people started going, what are you doing differently? You look awesome. You just look like your skin is healthier and you look happier. To anyone thinking about giving it a try, if you have depression, ADHD, bipolar, any of those things feel like they would vastly benefit from it. So go for it. That's what I say.
Welcome to the Pacific Northwest's most experienced ketamine center. Book a free phone or video consult at nwketamineclinics.com. Healing starts here.
Opening day is just days away, and we want to send you and a friend to experience it like never before. Get front row access to the opening ceremonies, player introductions, first pitch, and more, all from the field. To enter, just open the Seattle Sports app and hit the Win tab. You can enter once per day, so the more you enter, the better your chances. Better hustle. Contest runs through March 18th. From the home of your American League West champion Mariners, Seattle Sports. Don't miss the John Schneider Show, presented by Silver City Brewery.
I truly believe defense wins championships.
Thursdays at 4, only on Seattle Sports.
Discover the ultimate diamond buying experience. Unparalleled quality at unbeatable prices.
Hi, I'm Diamond Dave of Cantor Diamond. At our by appointment office, you'll receive truly personalized one-on-one service to your needs.
No high overhead of standalone stores or mall hours to pay for. We're direct diamond importers designing and manufacturing in-house, eliminating all the middlemen.
Stop overpaying at retail and enjoy serious savings on quality diamonds.
From the first consult to the final reveal, we guide you through every step, ensuring you get your dream diamond ring, necklace, or earrings without compromise.
Romantic proposals, anniversary splurges, or just because. Indulge in diamonds for less.
Call today for your private appointment for a dazzling diamond.
Call Diamond Dave at 253-272-7007. That's 253-272-7007. Or follow them on Instagram at Cantor Diamond. That's at Kantor Diamond.
Well, I'm sure by now you've heard interviews with a whole lot of people who took the First Mark Challenge and saved so much money on their insurance and got better coverage too. We call them First Mark victories. Well, I took the First Mark Challenge too, and I'm thrilled to say that First Mark is saving us thousands. Now, that's what I call a victory. You know, I was with the same agent for so long, I simply assumed they were working hard to get me the best coverage and save me money. But it wasn't the case, and you should find out too by taking the First Mark Insurance Challenge. First Mark works for you, not the insurance carriers. First Mark will fully analyze your current coverage, making sure you're not overpaying for the wrong coverage, which could leave you at risk for financial loss. Then they carefully search the market, dozens of major carriers to find you the best fit, and that's it. First Mark Insurance has helped thousands of families successfully manage the complicated world of insurance and save them thousands, me included. Be the next First Mark Challenge victory. Take the First Mark Challenge right now. It's totally free. Go to firstmarkinsurance.com. First Mark Insurance. They work for you.
Scanning the airwaves for the most interesting and entertaining stories of the day. Sweeping the Dial. Every afternoon at 4:45 with Wyman and Bob.
Presented by Silver Reef Casino Resort.
We heard a couple of comments from Dan Wilson yesterday about the pitching. He was also asked yesterday, kind of point blank here, if you'd feel comfortable starting Colt Emerson at shortstop if J.P. Crawford has to miss time.
I mean, I think, until we hear exactly what the situation with JP, it's hard to kind of weigh those options. So we'll wait and see once we hear, and then we'll begin to decipher where we need to go. But like I said earlier, all of our young players have had opportunities here in spring, and they've all done very well. They've all performed well. Whether it's Brock, whether it's Colt, some of the guys that we have seen have all. Cole Young has had a great spring too on the infield. So these guys have played well, and so I think you feel like you're in a good spot, but we just really have to wait and see what JP's situation.
It's a lot of words and no answer there.
Nicely done, Dan. Man, you didn't just give him I don't know, nothing like that. I mean, he talked his way around it pretty much. But,
yeah, he did. He was very adept at doing that.
But, and look, I'm not saying it was a bad question. It's just that, he's going to answer it that way.
It's a question you
coach.
I would think as a beat reporter, which we are not. But if you're a beat reporter, you have to ask that question.
Absolutely.
So, knowing, hey, look, I'm going to get a word salad here, and it's not going to be an answer, but I got to ask it. And to Dan's credit, he did well. I
thought he did a good job
talking around it. And it's we'll see what happens, because I don't know. Maybe the cortisone shot will be the magic elixir for him, and he'll be ready to go on opening day. But
maybe that's what he should have said. What you just said. We'll see.
Yeah.
Sweeping the Dial.
Max Crosby on his podcast shared the entire story of his trip to Baltimore. Really worth listening to. It's a long one, a lot of details there. But this part is getting a lot of attention when he described how Ravens GM Eric DeCosta avoided him the entire time he was there.
I didn't get to see the GM at all.
So he didn't come out the whole time you're testing or doing your physical. Everyone's talking about the GM never came once out to see you.
And I don't know why. I'm not going to speculate. I didn't see him one time. I even asked the girl. I was like, "Where's Eric at?" Like, I want to say, like, you know what I mean? Like, he just made the trade. Like, I didn't see him for 5 hours. So I go and do my thing. At the end, they're like, "Yeah, I'll take you up." Joe was like, "I'll take you up and you go see the head coach, whatever, just before you leave." I was like, "Hell yeah!" I was like, "That's what I want to say what's up to him." So I went back up. I dap him up, and you could just tell like the energy was a little bit off. And the GM was standing in like the hall, like in the room next to me to the right, and that was the first time I seen him. And I'm just in my head, like this is a whirlwind. Like, I'm so excited, like fired up. You know what I mean? Like, this is a new opportunity, whatever. And you could just tell the energy was off. Like, I dapped him up. He had like a blank face.
The story gets weirder because initially they were like, no, they wanted, it came out that, they got Hendrickson instead of, and then the story came out, no, the plan was to have both of them. And you're like, oh, okay, well then it makes sense because he failed his physical. We wanted both, but obviously he didn't pass our standards, or you didn't, meet those physically. So we're only settling for one, but now it sounds like, I don't know what the hell they were doing.
Yeah, did he say he could see Eric DeCosta kind of DaCosta sort of lingering in the background, or what? I mean, maybe he should have just stayed in his office, not knowing, what's going to happen with the physical and all that.
But it would be weird, like, you're the GM. You pulled that trade off. You're the one that brokered that deal. Figure you'd be there at the door to greet him. Like, I picture John Schneider being there no matter who he brings in, whoever's new. He's right there. He's part of the welcoming committee. So he's in the building for hours and he hadn't seen it. I don't know. Just the story gets weirder and weirder.
Sweeping the dial.
I'm not sure how fans would feel about this, but Mark DeRosa, after the game, was asked, would you manage Team USA again if they came calling?
Oh, it would be 100% yes to do it again. I'd love to get over the finish line. Not only is it 2 times, but 3-2 both times. Why? If you saw how hurting the guys were in that locker room right now, you'd know why. I mean, for some reason, this WBC has become a tidal wave of emotion for a lot of guys. You get them in the room, representing their country, coming together for 2.5 weeks. The buy-in, it's infectious in there. So, special group to be a part of. Proud of the way we represented USA. Soft spot in my place for Venezuela as well. I played there in winter ball. Know a lot of guys from there, and Omar's a great man, the manager over there. So, just a great game.
I don't imagine he's going to have to worry about that call coming in.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think they're going to look, they're going to go in another direction, Dave, I think, to put it politely.
Yeah, I would think so. Who was it the last time that the US went? Huh?
It was him.
In 23?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't remember that. Huh.
Yeah, because he was talking about how they lost 3-2 both times. So,
yeah, he doesn't know ball, obviously, because he called it a locker room.
Oh, that's the biggest tell right there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just think that gaffe is probably going to be enough where, who does decide who the manager is.
That's a good question. I don't know who makes the final decision on that. Do you know, Lefko?
Whoever it is.
I don't. I know it's like Jon Morosi know for sure.
Yeah, we'll ask John.
Yeah, that's
great question.
Better than me trying to venture a guess.
Yeah, why are we asking Lefko? We got an expert coming up.
Well, Lefko usually is the computer brain. But, I mean, I think if you were in that position, you'd be like, you know what? We don't want that narrative following you. People are going to go back to, oh, you did this, and then you lost the final game, and I don't know. Question him. It probably would be like a bigger distraction than anything, kind of like the Randy Cal thing.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think Major League Baseball likes all of that just because of the drama and everything, and just more news.
Likes the Randy Cal thing?
Yeah, the Randy Cal thing, and the Mark DeRosa not knowing that,
he didn't have their ticket punched yet.
They were, So, maybe that's the case, but nothing against DeRosa, certainly. But I would be surprised if he was asked back again.
Yeah, I don't think you're as passionate about him now because he didn't play Cal the last 2 games.
I will still love having him on. We get him once a year, maybe. I want to talk to him about his football career.
You don't want to demand answers about his decision making with Cal?
No. Quarterback for Penn, I think it was. It's an Ivy League school. I saw some video of him just slinging it around the yard.
I'm guessing more people would be interested in his answer about Cal than about his football career.
Yeah, that would just be a selfish thing by me.
Yeah. All right. Well, he was definitely in his element covering the WBC. We'll talk to Jon Morosi. He'll tell us how they go about picking a manager, who makes that selection, and everything else about the world of baseball. He's going to join us next with Wyman and Bob at Seattle Sports on 710.
Breaking news this morning from ESPN.
Is it finally happening?
Good golly, Miss Molly.
ESPN's Shams Charania, the NBA, will go next week to explore adding expansion teams in Vegas and Seattle. Joining us now, Shams himself.
The NBA is projecting that both Seattle and Las Vegas would immediately jump into the top 8 of revenue-generating teams.
Stay caught up on the latest at seattlesports.com and Seattle Sports on 710, the app, and YouTube.
Flying chickens in a barnyard.
Hey, it's Bob Stelton here, and if you have joint pain, this will be of interest to you. This Thursday night at 6 p.m., Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, is having a free live webinar to talk about stem cell therapy.
I'm really looking forward to this live webinar to educate on how using your own stem cells can be an extremely successful method to help regenerate native tissue in rotator cuffs, meniscus tears, and reduce pain in osteoarthritic joints.
What joints have you seen good success with?
Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, even wrists and ankles. And in this live webinar, we'll tell you all about the procedure, how simple and safe it is using your own stem cells, and how we determine if you're a candidate.
Learn more about stem cell therapy with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, one of the most experienced in the country with over 20,000 stem cell procedures. Go pain-free in 2026. Join his free live stem cell webinar this Thursday night at 6 p.m. Register at drmarkwagnermd.com. drmarkwagnermd.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of a car rolling into Valvoline Instant Oil Change. The sound of another savvy driver getting an oil change from trained pros. The sound of not having to leave your car while we quickly change your oil. At Valvoline Instant Oil Change, there's no hassle with appointments or dealer wait times. That's one smart bell.
With Aetna, I always get a quick answer, and I don't have to search on the internet. They go above and beyond to help me with whatever I need.
Those words from a real Aetna Medicare Advantage member speak to why U.S. News & World Report named us a best Medicare Advantage company. Because we show up on calls with members and doctors' offices when requested. We show up with access to convenient care options. We show up for you. Because that's how healthier happens together. Member feedback has been edited for length and clarity.
Trust is everything. Earning it takes years. Losing it takes 5 seconds.
Lee Johnson Auto Family.
Dealing with divorce and custody issues can be terrifying and very lonely, but you don't need to face it alone. Goldberg Jones has been helping Northwest husbands and fathers for more than 30 years. Thousands of men have put their trust in us. You can too. Learn more at goldbergjones.com.
Start having fun. Caesar Sportsbook at Muckleshoot Casino Resort is your #1 place to eat, drink, watch, and have fun. Keep up with your favorite sports anywhere and everywhere on property with the mobile app. Visit muckleshootcasino.com today. Scan the QR code and let the play begin.
Muckleshoot.
So my friends over at Pure Talk have been sending me customer feedback from consumeraffairs.com, where thousands of people rate and review the top wireless providers. Here, for instance, is a nice note from James in Raleigh, North Carolina, who writes, quote, "After hearing Mike Rowe's ad, we made the switch to Pure Talk, and we couldn't be happier. We went from spending $1,200 a year with T-Mobile to $420 with Pure Talk. Thanks, Mike. Switch today!" Exclamation point. Pure Talk is saving James $820 a year. And because he literally wrote the words "switch today" in capital letters with an exclamation point, I'm going to go ahead and dedicate this commercial to him. So folks, take it from James in Raleigh, North Carolina. Pure Talk can give you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month on the same 5G service the big guys are overcharging you for. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. You'll also save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 to save an additional 50%. Thanks, James.
Jackson Hewitt has a great tax prep deal, $149 or less. Missing out is like ignoring the check engine light in your car. You'll regret it. Seriously, the price is only $149 or less, no matter how complicated. So don't wait. Like when you get a password expires today alert, or you're shopping online and there's only one item left. It's like your taxes are in the cart. Just complete the purchase. Hurry! This deal for $149 or less is like your phone at 1%. It's about to power down. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Hi, Flo here to say that Progressive knows that life can change quickly, so it's good to have flexible coverage.
Oh, like when I have to take my ex off my policy.
Oh, sorry. But yes, we can do that.
And can you send them a message and tell them that they have trust issues that they need to work on?
We don't really get in the middle of these conflicts.
Also, can you let him know that I was faking interest in his band and it's probably time to grow up?
I'm not going to do it. Just know that with Progressive, you can easily make changes to your auto insurance because we know life changes.
Also, I'm staying in touch with his mom because she's absolutely lovely.
Bad idea.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. The countdown is on.
Just 8 days until opening day next Thursday against the Guardians at T-Mobile Park.
On the home of the American League West champion Mariners, Seattle Sports. KIRO AM Seattle. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
38-year-old Andy Dalton's got a new home. The Eagles acquired him in a trade from the Carolina Panthers in exchange for a 2027 seventh-round pick, according to Adam Schefter. They were looking for somebody to back up Jalen Hurts after Sam Howell left in free agency to the Cowboys. Meanwhile, in the world of baseball, Blue Jays pitcher Jose Berrios, I can't roll my R's like Morosi, he'll do it for us. He will not be ready for the start of the season after being diagnosed with a stress fracture in his right elbow. He had met with a doctor regarding what the Blue Jays were describing as inflammation in his elbow. And then Jays manager John Schneider told reporters today about the diagnosis.
Snapshot brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
I've never heard a person walk out of the stadium and say, wow, I wish that game would have included more waiting.
He is an endless source of baseball and hockey knowledge.
José de Ríos, el lanzador de Puerto Rico, el Clásico Mundial de Béisbol.
Jon Morosi, every week with Wyman and Bob.
You're being serious with me right now?
Berrios.
Berrios. There you go.
Well done.
That's a pro right there. That's a professional roller of the R's. That's Jon Morosi, who's with us each and every week here on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. How are you, man?
I am outstanding. A little weary from 2 weeks on the road. What an experience! My goodness. I just my circadian rhythms. My baseball heart is telling me that I should be at a ballpark right now. It's 8 o'clock, which is when the first pitch time for our games in Miami. It was 24 hours ago at this exact hour, this exact minute. We were watching that stirring pregame ceremony as the U.S. played Venezuela, and one of the best environments I've seen in my life, one of the best ball games. Obviously, it was not a big offensive game, but for the stakes, for the stage, for what it meant certainly to the team that won, it was a very memorable night indeed in what's been the best World Baseball Classic yet. So we've got plenty to discuss here this evening.
Yeah, Dave and I were talking about it earlier, and it was hard to be upset seeing Gino be the guy who came through, and then seeing his emotion, seeing the emotion of that team, what it meant to that team. You tell me if I'm wrong, John, if Team USA had won, I don't think it has the same impact that it does on Team Venezuela. Not that they wouldn't be happy. Of course they wanted to win. Of course they'd be proud and excited, but I think there's just a difference there. To me, it just seemed like it meant the world to that team, and I don't know that you could say that about Team USA.
You're right. I look at it this way. If the United States had won that game last night, the American baseball fans would be proud today. Americans, maybe even casual sports fans, would be proud. It would have been a proud achievement. Mm-hmm. For Venezuela, it is a transformative achievement. That's the difference. Baseball would not have been made to be more important or more essential to America if the U.S. had won that game last night. But for Venezuela, obviously understanding the context of the political turmoil that exists now and has existed there for years up to this point, and how baseball for Venezuelans is something that has unified them when there have been fractious and difficult times for them internally, that whether you are a Venezuelan American who has made their home in Miami for the last 15 or 20 years, or if you're a Venezuelan still living now in Caracas or Valencia or Maracaibo or Maracay, all the great baseball cities of Venezuela, you feel the same way about the national team and the colors. And so when Venezuela wins that game and the president of the country declares that this will be a day of jubilation, so by decree of the president and the government, there was no work today except for essential workers, and the actual order from the government was you must rejoice today. That was the job. Yeah. And so that would not have happened in the United States. No. We would not have had a spontaneous holiday declared. And that just gives you a sense of where this triumph ranks in the history of Venezuelan sports. That was the biggest win in the history of Venezuelan sports. They've had triumphs before at Olympics and other tournaments, but nothing like this. Nothing at the time they needed it, and with the players, this is the national sport of Venezuela. This was a best-on-best tournament. They defeated the United States. For all the reasons I just mentioned, it's the biggest. And as a broadcaster being there last night, certainly to know that you were watching the moment, the event for an entire country unfolding in front of you was a real privilege. And I think that you're exactly right, Bob. I know for a fact, there were fans that arrived there, proud Americans who love this country that we're living in, that by the end of it, when the game ended, they applauded.
Mm-hmm.
Not because it changed how they felt about their own country, but that they saw what it meant to the people around them that were cheering for Venezuela. And that, to me, is the essence of sport. It's the essence of community and respecting each other and our stories. If you're a human who loves sports, or if you're just a human, period, and you were watching that game and seeing the tears, and I was just seeing tough baseball players who've been around this game for their whole lives bawling their eyes out when they won, whether they were playing or on the coaching staff, draped in the flag. These are moments that stay with you, and no matter what your passport says or no matter who you're cheering for, you can be proud and happy for the people, and proud that this sport that we love brought such joy, certainly to Venezuela, but also a lot of other countries along the way the Dominicans played, the way the Italians played. Yes, despite their flaws, the way the U.S. played. There were a lot of reasons to be very proud about what baseball did for the world over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, really, really good for MLB. Boy, they got one thing right. We don't even get a day off after the Super Bowl here. We need that to be
national
a
holiday.
Yeah.
We should, as the WBC gets bigger and bigger every time, we got to start now building this in. We got to have Congress propose that and get it through the system. That way we know that win, lose, or draw, the next classic, day off afterward.
There you go. Hey, JP, we were wondering who selects the manager for Team USA.
It's a great question. That decision is made by USA Baseball, which is headquartered in North Carolina, and there is input from Major League Baseball on that. There is a pretty tight relationship nowadays between MLB and USA Baseball. I don't know the exact way to phrase it in terms of is the process guided by USA Baseball with then approval from MLB? That might be a fair way to characterize it, but there's the hire is made by USA Baseball, but it is very accurate to say that with Team USA, more than other teams, that Major League Baseball has a bit more to do with choosing the manager of the U.S. than it does, say, Brazil or the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
So looking at, we were talking about the manager, and DeRosa certainly took his slings and arrows, and, about not realizing he didn't actually have his ticket punched and maybe some of the lineups. What do you think the likelihood is that he's asked back?
Good question. Hard to say. I know he said afterward that he would want to continue.
Right.
And I think that obviously for a lot of people around baseball, the big event in front of you is the Olympics. Now, in-game strategy, I get it. There are always going to be criticisms and critiques about how that plays out when you don't win. I also think that in terms of getting the right players there and getting the buy-in, especially on the position player side, it's hard to ask for a better roster. I don't think that the player selection was a problem. And up and down the lineup, they got 3 hits yesterday. I at some point, and now I will say, acknowledge me, watching the game last night, I would have liked to have seen Raleigh take at least an at-bat. I realize that his at-bats earlier in the tournament have not necessarily been Cal-like.
Right.
However, he did hit 60 homers last year. And there should have been a spot in a game where the U.S. was struggling to string hits together. I do think on some level there would have been a spot for Cal to get in that game and have an at-bat, in my view.
Yeah. I'm sorry. What do you think happened there? Because I thought the same thing. JP, I was like, okay, he's not catching, he's not behind the plate. Maybe they're going to bring him in for that hero moment, later on. And what do you think went wrong there?
I just think that the quality of his at bats was not in mid-March where the U.S. needed it to be for the majority of the tournament. I think that's what I saw, and I watched every U.S. game.
Okay. Yeah.
He wasn't in his best form. All of that being said, he's still a threat, and everyone on the other side knows that he's a threat. You look at managing and the game and thinking of it this way: what is the move that would make the other side feel uncomfortable or more comfortable when you think about it? If you try to keep thinking about every decision that you make. If Cal Raleigh steps up there in a big spot, everybody knows who he is, and there's real fear there. Now, Will Smith had a massive home run in Game 7 of the World Series last year, so he's capable of that moment too. Cal is the bigger home run threat, and that was a game where, with the U.S. struggling to build some rallies, I would have liked to have seen Cal get a moment there, in my view. And also, let's remember too that one of the biggest moments in the game was a wild pitch. Now, I tend to think that no one was going to be able to stop that pitch from getting away, but Cal is awfully good in terms of blocking balls and the way that he works down and prevents that. We talked so much about his defense and having no pass balls all year last year. So that to me is, again, I would have liked to have seen him get in there. I understand why he wasn't. The guy they had in there, Will Smith, is a multiple-time World Series champion. He might be on his way to the Hall of Fame one day, and he had a big home run in Game 7. So it's not as though there was a massive, obvious gap between the two. I just think that Cal, for whatever reason, and again, maybe some of it's his own doing because his at-bats weren't what you would expect them to be. I still would have liked to have seen him have some involvement in the game last night.
So was it kind of wishful thinking or wishful hoping that the participation in the WBC would be sort of a catalyst for guys to, kind of get off to a good start, get that engine going early, because Cal was hitless. He was 0 for 9. Julio wasn't that much better. I mean, he wasn't tearing the cover. He did have a couple of hits, but he wasn't tearing the cover off the ball either. So was that just kind of wishful thinking that it might be something that gets him going, or does that still remain to be seen in your opinion?
It very much remains to be seen. I think that for some players, now whether or not the results say it right away, it has certainly cranked up your mental acuity to a postseason mentality right away.
Right.
And so there's no easing into the season when you've already done this. I mean, personally, the noise and the atmosphere and the emotion, it feels like I just got back from Game 7 of the World Series. That's how I feel today. Just me. And I just watched and talked. Okay, like that's not high stress compared to what they did. So I can only imagine what it feels like to be one of the players who gave your heart and soul to this for not just the 2 weeks of this, but preparing and making sure that you were ready early. And that's where there's a little bit of unfulfillment. I think that, Bryce Harper certainly today, I'm sure, feels disappointed, but he also had this amazing moment where he delivered. His team didn't win, but he delivered. And I think that's the hard part for Cal, in that he didn't play in the semifinal, which was scheduled all along, that they were going to go in alternating games. Okay, so the one decision, the big decision, was yesterday, last night's game. And I understand on some level, you think about that situation, and Smith had caught McLean the first time. I understand that on some level. There's just, for me, it very much is player to player in terms of how a player is feeling, what the benefit of the WBC is. The Mariners could still see a benefit from Julio and Cal in the regular season, even though the numbers weren't there in March. It may have tuned them up a little bit more to where they feel like it's October already, and they're just taking March and April with a ton of enthusiasm and passion, because you think about a Tuesday game in April, and we just got away from just this amazing atmosphere where if it's a quieter crowd and you're playing against the A's in West Sacramento, might not quite have the same pop, but you're hoping that it carries through the fact that you did have that mental preparation for this big event. And so even though the result wasn't what you wanted, I think the overall work was quite impressive.
Hey, JP, we were talking a little bit about Bob brought up the fact that, like, the celebrations and everything for those teams much more like demonstrative. And we were just talking about kind of like the culture used to be, and I don't know, was it 25, 30 years ago that, you know, if you showboat or anything running the bases, you're going to get thrown at and things like that. And it seems like it's kind of changing a little bit and kind of more towards, I don't know, you saw like the full emotion on display, especially last night with Venezuela.
We can learn a lot from the world when it comes to how the game is played. And if there's one thought that I have for Team USA, and I get it that there is still the burden of being Team USA, it's our national pastime, we have Major League Baseball in the States, all those things. I understand that responsibility. But it sure seems like the game is a lot of fun when you play it with freedom and joy and gratitude and just let it all go. Let it go. And that's true in the stands. I heard a snippet of what Pat McAfee said earlier today on his show about the experience of being there and hearing the Venezuelan fans cheering and chanting, and how he said it was the best environment he'd ever experienced as a fan. That says something to me. And the reason why it's special is because of how the Venezuelan fans make it special. And the Dominican fans are the same way. And the Mexican fans are the same way. And the Japanese fans, in a different way, have a similar passion for what it is that they do. And I think that we as Americans, we tend to watch sports sometimes as if it's a theater performance or a concert. In other words, they do something, we cheer. Whereas it's the other way around in Latin America.
Yeah.
We're the show up in the stands, and the game will happen. As it'll happen, something will happen down there, but we are going to do what we do. And we're going to sing, we're going to play drums, instruments, dance, have fun. Would it be hard to do that 162 days in a row during the season? Probably. It'd be a little tough. Yeah. But there is something that we can all learn from this. That I've always believed this, guys. Baseball is a hard sport to play when you allow expectations, pressure, burden, all those things. When you let that stuff sit on your shoulders, it doesn't work. You play, the way you play best is when you play free. And Venezuela played free. The Dominicans played free. The Puerto Ricans played free, even though they were missing a lot of key players. That's when baseball is magic. And if you ever have a chance to go to these games, I think it is the thing to attend. It is. These games are. You'll be watching World Cup soccer in Seattle and maybe in Vancouver this summer, and those atmospheres will have a hard time, in my opinion, comparing to what we just saw in Houston and in Miami. It's just these games are incredible, and I do think that the players on the field, when their mindset is, well, I'm just going to have fun, be in the moment, let my love for the game just shine through and go. I think it makes for an easier time mentally handling the pressure of performing, as opposed to clenching the bat really tight and having to perform so much. Let that stuff go. This proves to us that baseball does not have to be this rigid, rules-based sport. Play it with this passion. And by the way, I do think the Americans were a little bit moved in that direction. You saw the reaction to Bryce Harper's homer. Yeah. They all came out of the dugout. That was just beautiful to see. So I thought there were some moments where we saw the Americans learn a bit from the visiting team last night in Venezuela. And then Venezuela, of course, ultimately taught the biggest lesson of all and earned their first WBC title.
Hey, looking at this Mariners team as we get set for opening day next week, a couple of question marks. Certainly Bryce Miller dealing with injury. It looks like Emerson Hancock will be that guy, presumably, in that 5 spot to start the year. But J.P. Crawford is the other guy who's dealing with a sore shoulder. They're saying the imaging shows no structural damage or anything. He had to fly to Dallas, get a cortisone shot, see a specialist. So we're wondering, is he going to be ready for opening day? If he's not, does he start the season on the IL? We don't know. But hypothetically, if he were to miss time to start the season, whether he's on the IL or it's just a couple games, the debate seems to be, do you bring Colt Emerson up? Even though maybe he's not quite where he needs to be a big leaguer. Maybe he's close. I don't know. what would you do? Would you be more comfortable with the Leo Rivas, who's kind of that veteran utility guy who's played that spot, or would you be okay starting the clock on your top prospect?
If I felt as though Emerson was going to play every day, even if it's for a short period of time, I'd bring him up. If it's a day or two, that's Rivas's role. And also, if Emerson comes up and plays to start the year, let's say hypothetically that you've got a scenario where JP's on the injured list to begin the year, Emerson makes the club. Rivas is the veteran that you can have step in there and take some of the tougher assignments. He could take some of the tougher at-bats. If there's a matchup that you don't like for Emerson on a particular day, maybe you sit him, play Rivas, and then that allows you to be a little bit more adaptable with how you proceed going forward. I think it's important to set expectations that if you tell Emerson, listen, we still view JP as the shortstop, but he's not ready right now. He's injured, and maybe even his swing is not where it needs to be. Then maybe JP starts the year on the IL, and it's a mix and match. I do think that if Emerson is on the club, he has to start a majority of the games. Not every game, but a majority. You can't bring him up and sit him. He's got to play.
Right.
So that's what I would say, and that's why Rivas is such a valuable player. I would not, I stress, I would not advocate for bringing in someone else on a waiver claim, because I think Rivas, you've already got the guy right there. He can do that job. He is a good defensive player, versatile player, and then the last thing you want to do is bring in another person to then complicate matters with JP once he's back to being himself, and Emerson, and Rivas, and someone else. So I think you stay internal, and I'm of the mind that if JP is going to see a specialist in the middle of March, that seems concerning. And I don't know, believe me, I don't know the full extent of exactly everything that's going on in the shoulder, but a lot of the TikTok of this story makes me a little concerned about where he's at physically with the arm. And I do think there's a fairly good chance that we see Emerson starting some games at shortstop before the start of May. What the exact timeline is, hard to say at this moment in time, but I do believe that Emerson's, even though he's not 100% a finished product, him plus Rivas, I think, is a workable solution for the near term, and then see where you're at once JP's healthy. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later, but I'm with you that just the news that I've been seeing on it doesn't seem terribly optimistic about his ability to not just be on the roster and be active, but be his full effective self.
Yeah.
That has to be the standard.
John, as always, great stuff. We appreciate you, my friend. Glad you're back. You're safe. You're ready to take on the season, and we're going to see you out here in Seattle this year, right?
I think it's going to happen for sure. I've already got – actually, I was talking to my wife about this. We're going to make some plans for June, little family time, little Mariner time, hopefully, a little World Cup time maybe. So now that I'm through the Classic, it's been, as you know, between the Olympics and this, my brain's been in about a million different countries in the last little while. So I have to just reacquaint myself with the great state of Michigan and our conversations. Just look at one place on the map for a while and then chart a plan from there. But I think there's a very high chance that I'll be visiting you in studio at some point in time this season.
Well, JP, you can sit next to me and I won't hit you during the game like Bob.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. My arm is. I'm back up to full strength now, Bob. I'm back game ready. We're good.
That cortisone shot worked for you. Hopefully it worked for JP.
I'll send JP my best medical specialist on that.
We appreciate you, man.
All the best, guys. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. Thank you.
There you go. There's Jon Morosi with us each and every week. Always a great conversation. If you guys missed any part of that, you'll be able to find it on the podcast page after the show at seattlesports.com. Meanwhile, how will the WBC affect Cal and Julio's start to the season? We'll get deeper into that coming up next with Wyman and Bob at Seattle Sports on 710.
Having one of those days where a little of this would make things so much better?
Fastball, strike three called. He got him looking. How about that for a Cactus League debut? Cade Anderson striking out the side.
We got you. You can stream every Mariners spring training game live for free on the Seattle Sports app. Making lives better through Mariners baseball, one
goodbye baseball
at a time. Home of your American League West champion Mariners.
It's Dave Wyman for Swedish Cyberknife, and for local men recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, several treatment options are available. And recently, I had the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Robert Meyer. He's a multiple-time recipient of the Seattle Top Doctor Award. And we spoke about the great work being done by Swedish Cyberknife. And Dr. Meyer, he said patients experience fewer side effects compared with other treatments, and the Cyberknife treatment is complete after only 5 sessions, each lasting less than an hour. Patients are treating their prostate cancer in only 1 week with minimal interruption to their lives, and many don't even take time off work to undergo treatment. Swedish has been offering the Cyberknife treatment in Seattle for over 10 years and treated over 1,000 prostate cancer patients, some of them listening right now. And the Cyberknife targets radiation precisely on the prostate cancer, sparing vital neighboring organs. So if diagnosed with prostate cancer, learn more about Cyberknife for prostate cancer treatment at swedish.org/cyberknifeprostate. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish Cyberknife.
Well, spring is all about getting ready for summer, isn't it? But do you have a room just sitting empty and you've dreamt of making it your own home gym? Hey, Brock Heward here, and working out in your own home, well, it is the best. We've been doing so for years, and you can allow Top Fitness to create your own home gym. Simply give them your room dimensions, and they'll do the rest. A complete fitness room design. It's no secret why everyone from personal trainers to pro athletes love Top Fitness. Top Fitness represents the very best brands in fitness, like Precor, Inspire Fitness, along with many others. They also have everything from flooring to weights that go in a home gym. And right now, get spring special financing with 0% interest for 12 months, plus mention me and receive an $150 credit towards any purchase over $1,000. Spring is here to get you in the best shape, so go get into Top Fitness with locations in Tukwila, Linwood, and Bellevue, or simply visit topfitness.com for more info. That's Top Fitness, your best place for home fitness equipment.
Life's expensive enough, isn't it? Groceries, gas, kids' activities. Sometimes your roof needs replacing, but your budget says not now. Hi, I'm Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. We want to help with an offer to lift that weight off your shoulders. Get 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for up to 24 months. Or save up to $3,000 on a new roof today. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
On top of home and auto, Progressive protects your boat, RV, and motorcycle so you can explore the unknown.
Actually, we just take the RV to the same campground every year.
Well, maybe you can catch your own dinner on your boat.
Oh, we can actually get pizza delivered there from this brick oven place we love.
Will you at least try a new topping?
Honestly, probably not. We kind of have a go-to order.
Fine. Just bundle home or auto insurance with your outdoor vehicles with Progressive and stay protected when you go, I guess, where you've gone before. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
Don't miss 3 Tree Roofing Mariners Cactus League Baseball.
This could be 2. JP has it, goes to the bag, steps on second, fires to first, double play.
Broadcast times at seattlesports.com.
Hey, what a surprise. We got tons of rain here in the Northwest in the late winter into the spring. It all adds up. Now's the time of the year when the ground becomes completely saturated with water, and that can cause real problems in your crawl space. It's Mike Salk here, and groundwater intrusion in crawl spaces, it's pretty common, but it's got to be addressed before it causes structural damage or even worse, toxic mold in your home. You don't want any part of that. That's why if you're worried about any groundwater in your crawl space, you call Crawl Pros and you get a free corner-to-corner inspection. They'll climb into that crawl space, see what the condition is. They will go where you don't want to, definitely where I didn't want to. They came to my house and handled all this stuff. If they find water, they'll install a groundwater drainage system and a sump pump and reroute that water outside your home's footprint where it belongs. Don't take the risk. Do what I did. Have Crawl Pros come out for that free corner-to-corner inspection. They'll even check your attic at the same time. time. If you're worried that anything is going on with your crawl space or attic, call Crawl Pros or visit crawlpros.com.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait, and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Wyman and Bob.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Our thanks to Jon Morosi, who joined us in the previous segment. In case you just tuned in and missed that conversation, you'll be able to find it on the podcast page after the show at seattlesports.com. Meanwhile, we touched on this with John and talked about the fact that Cal was 0 for the tournament. Not a good tournament for him. Julio was not great, but he had a few hits, but nothing to write home. Neither were hot. How about that?
Yeah, and then he was right about, Will Smith. Being a guy that was, he's possibly a Hall of Famer and good player and everything. But I like the way JP said it. He's like, there's still that threat there with a guy that hit 60 home runs last year.
You thought he would have at least, if you weren't going to start him, and he's right about the semis, that was the rotation. He wasn't going to play that game, right? They were alternating. It was last night's game that you thought, all right, Cal's going to get the start because that's the rotation. Well, he didn't get the start, so you're thinking, all right, at least at minimum, guy's a switch hitter. So It doesn't matter who's on the hill. You need to run. You need that threat up at the plate, late in the game, whatever. There's your guy. Didn't happen. So I get it. I'm sure DeRosa, if hasn't been asked, I haven't heard if he's been asked about it or not, but I think he'd probably look at it. And JP pointed to it wasn't so much even just being 0 for 9. He didn't look great in the at-bats. So there's that. So maybe he just felt like, look, it's not even so much that. It looks like his timing's not there. He's just not seeing the ball the way he should. I don't know. But does that, looking at both of them, Cal and to a lesser extent Julio, kind of eliminate that idea we were talking about this whole time? Like, all right, maybe this gets things going for these guys. They're playing, certainly games that you cannot match the intensity in spring training. It's not even close.
Yeah.
You can't duplicate that in spring training. They're playing their mindset, as he talked about, just their approach. Everything is just, there's a lot on the line. You are desperately trying to win these games, whereas in spring training, I don't know how many players are even aware of what the final score is at the end of the game, much less did we win, did we lose? It's about, I'm working on this, I'm working on that, trying to get prepared for the season.
Yeah, I guess with Julio, he started off slow, and so maybe this is the part. I mean, I didn't expect him to catch on fire. I just think it's going to be interesting to see if those extra at-bats in those competitive situations, maybe that kind of fills the void as opposed to what the start of the season would normally be. It's still, just because he didn't have, a good WBC, it doesn't mean that, maybe it did. Maybe it will have an effect that he will start a little bit faster just because of that. I don't know. That to me, I think, makes some sense. But yeah, both Cal and Julio certainly didn't blow anybody's skirt up with their numbers. You know who actually had the highest batting average in the WBC from what I'm seeing? This is the top 25. Miles Mastrobuoni. Now, he had 3 at-bats.
I was just going to say, how many ABs did he have? Because he was back in camp when we were there.
Yeah, he had 3 at-bats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really count.
I know, but I just thought I'd mention it because I think it's kind of funny. But yeah, that certainly not. I don't know. I think that still could have an effect. It still could be something that, hey, Julio got those things go, out of the way, and that now that he's ready to go once the season starts, maybe it will have an effect. But yeah, it's hard to tell based on what his stats were.
What was his final average? You have all the averages there.
Well, I mean, it's by page. So how far down would I have to go to get there? Do you think? What?
I think it was I don't even know if it was over 200.
Yeah. So I'll find it here in a second. But yeah, I mean, it was not great. That's for sure.
Yeah, and the other part that I came out of this looking at just going, that offense, that's an all-star lineup.
Yeah.
Right? And in the Team USA, that's an all-star lineup when you got Judge and you've got Bregman and you've got, everybody in that lineup doing what they do in the regular season, and they were shut down. I mean, they were shut down. They didn't really have any answers, and it just emphasized how crucial pitching is. Everybody knows that to begin with, but to see a lineup that's put together like that get locked down, you're just like, okay, that just reinforces that old adage that good pitching is going to beat good hitting the majority of the time. Not always, but the majority of the time, pitching is going to dominate.
It make you feel good about our team?
Yeah, well, it reemphasizes how important it is that these guys stay healthy. First and foremost, that you got your studs out there as much as you possibly can. Now, guys are going to miss starts. It won't just be Bryce Miller. Somebody else will miss a start. Somebody else, it's going to happen. But, if they can get – we've talked about this. 2024 was just such an outlier. Mm-hmm. They were so healthy. They were so durable as a staff. And then it just went polar opposite the next year. But they can just find that middle ground. If they can just find that in between in terms of their health and their durability, that is huge. And the fact, again, the confidence that this organization, this team gained by having such an uneven year with their starters and getting farther than any team in the history of this organization ever has.
Right. Yeah, and it felt like they were incredibly snake-bit as far as injuries went last year. So, yeah, like you said, somewhere in between, if they can, put up the same offensive numbers. Julio, by the way, he had 17 at-bats in 5 games. And he was 176, but he had a home run, 4 RBIs, but 4 strikeouts, 3 walks. So I don't know. Is that enough to, 17 at bats? Is that enough to accelerate him into maybe a fast start?
I mean, he was off to a great start in spring. Mm-hmm. He went today. He went 0 for 3, which dropped his average to 417.
Yeah,
he'd been crushing in spring, but it's spring, so you take those numbers for what they are. But he had been rolling in spring. Gets there. It's under 200. What does it mean? At least there, he's going up against the best pitching that opposition has to offer. Now, it's not always major league caliber. You're beating up on teams like Brazil out there facing 17-year-olds and things like that. You're not facing the elite of the elite in certain cases, but spring training, you're often facing guys that are going to be in AA. They're going to be down in the system for those teams as well.
Yeah, and so, maybe it's not just the at-bats. Maybe it's that, Julio just made, everybody points to kind of the All-Star break, that's where he sort of turned things around. And I don't remember if it was last year, or the year before, or maybe both, but just the beginning of the year, he was getting jammed with inside pitches, then he started chasing things. And, yeah, it was just kind of a mess, and he just looked like he had a plan last year after the All-Star break. We'll see, though. We'll see what happens.
We also saw a lot of what people were complaining about, him chasing off the plate, swinging so hard that he'd end up stepping over the plate into the other batter's box. I mean, he was just so off balance and just looked, timing-wise, was way off, was being fooled and swinging out of his shoes. And you saw that corrected in a big way. You see him falling into the other batter's box. That, didn't mean he didn't strike out, but he looked completely different. So that, I don't know, who was it that we were talking to that said that may have been the moment of his career, said that decision. I can't remember. We were talking to somebody down in spring training.
Taking time off instead of going to the All-Star?
Instead of going to the All-Star game, saying, no, I'm going to work on myself, get ready for the second half of the season, saying, we might reflect on that moment as the pivotal moment of his career. Right. And maybe it will be. We'll see. But it certainly was a pivotal moment in the season because he was a different player after that in a good way. Meanwhile, we're a little over a month until the NFL draft. We'll dive into a big question for the Seahawks coming up next with Wyman and Bob at Seattle Sports on 710.
4 Down Territory. Michael Bumpus answers the top 4 football questions of the day.
You watched every target to Rashid Shaheed, so what did you see?
He's good off the line. I like his release. He has a couple releases that he goes to that works. And the reason why they work is because he's extremely fast. You have to respect everything that he does. I think that once he gets on a defender's hip, he is gone. The saying, if he's even, he's leaving. That is exactly him.
Catch every 4 Down Territory on the Seattle Sports app.
Hey, it's Bob Stelton here, and if you're somebody that's dealing with joint pain, this will be of interest to you. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, is having a free live webinar to talk about stem cell therapy.
Hey, it's Dave Wyman, and this live webinar is a great education on how using your own stem cells can be an extremely successful method to help regenerate native tissue in rotator cuffs, meniscus tears, and reduce pain in osteoarthritic joints.
And, you know, I'm somebody that was dealing with hip pain for years and thought I'd reached the end of the road after going with steroid injections and all of that. I thought surgery was on the table until I met with Dr. Wagner. I finally paid attention to what you were saying, Dave, hearing the testimonials. I said, let me check into it. He took a look at the imaging, said, I can help you. I can't cure everything because I had multiple things wrong, but he says this will go a long way in helping with the pain, and he undersold that.
And you finally listened to me, Bob. That's
that
the
one
important part. Hey, so whether it's a shoulder, elbow, hip, or knee, even wrists and ankles, this live webinar will explain the procedure, how simple and safe it is using your own stem cells.
Dr. Wagner has performed over 20,000 stem cell procedures. So if you're somebody dealing with joint pain, his free live webinar, his stem cell webinar tomorrow night at 6 p.m. to learn about stem cell therapy.
You can register at drmarkwagnermd.com. That's drmarkwagnermd.com.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
If you actually are the person that will take care of them after the fact, if you actually will be there for them, if you will pick up your phone, then they come back to you.
Lee Johnson Auto Family, the LJ way.
High five. Up top. Dave's company just got the 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business. Yeah! It's 5 years of gig speed internet, advanced security, and a great rate that won't change. All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Heck yeah! He hasn't given this many high fives since Deborah brought in her famous banana bread. Yes! The Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee. Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities.
And it's hurting, but I am not stopping. Woo! For a limited time, now through March 29th, switch to Comcast Business to lock in your rate for 5 years and get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig bundle. Or ask how to get started with 150 megabit internet and Security Edge for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Don't wait. Call today. Restrictions apply. New customers only. 1-year contract required for guaranteed rate. Paperless billing and automatic payments with bank account required. 5-year pricing applies to monthly service charge excluding taxes and fees.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Call 877 Cars for Kids to reach a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now or go to carsforkids.org.
7 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
Opening day is just days away, and we want to send you and a friend to experience it like never before. Get front row access to the opening ceremonies, player introductions, first pitch, and more, all from the field. To enter, just open the Seattle Sports app and hit the Win tab. You can enter once per day, so the more you enter, the better your chances. Better hustle. Contest runs through March 18th. From the home of your American League West champion Mariners, Seattle Sports. Get broadcast times for every 3-Tree Roofing Mariners Cactus League broadcast.
Holy smokes, he does it again!
At seattlesports.com.
And we're back. The big headline today. Your Washington Credit Union, WSECU, has done it again.
5 straight years as Forbes' best in-state credit union. That's a dynasty, Rick, like 5 straight championship rings.
Or 5 seasons hitting 400, Steve.
Holy catfish! If you want a team that wins year after year, join your Washington Credit Union, WSECU. Details at WSECU.org.
Dave Wyman here with Dr. Robert Meyer from Swedish Hospital. Dr. Meyer, tell us about the amazing results prostate cancer patients are getting with Swedish CyberKnife.
Well, at the Swedish CyberKnife, our patients are really satisfied with the experience. The treatment is very effective at eradicating the cancer, has minimal side effects, and we are seeing excellent cancer control 10 years later.
Find out more at swedish.org/cyberknifeprostate. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish CyberKnife.
Hey homeowners, are you stuck on the credit card treadmill and stressed because your consumer debt and monthly payments are too high? Well, Brock Heward here with a smart solution. Your home's equity in the Seattle Metro is probably larger than ever. It's like you're sitting on a stack of cash. Consider a cash-out refinance with Tila Mortgage to consolidate your high-balance credit cards, second mortgages, home equity lines of credit, and student loans, or get cash for a remodel. With interest rates finally coming down, consolidating your debt now may be the best decision you ever make. With excellent client reviews and trusted in Washington for over 25 years, Tila has competitive rates on refinance, purchase, or reverse mortgages too. Tila, spelled T-I-L-A, is a name you can trust for truthful, honest, and ethical advice for all your mortgage needs. Call Tila Mortgage today, 206-766-8888. That's 206-766-8888 or
Tila Mortgage LLC is a mortgage broker. NMLS 2472046.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Wyman and Bob.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Draft is going to be here before we know it, Dave. Seahawks, as we said, have 4 picks. We'll see if they turn those into more picks, if they're going to trade. What do you think they'll do? If you had to make a prediction right now, they stand pat. How about just the first round pick, number 32? They pick there or they trade it?
I would say I'm 90% sure that they're going to trade that one away.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody will have a player there that they want. I don't. And again, we always talk about he stays very true to his evaluation, like how many players, and he'll have in his John Schneider, that is, in his head, a number of players that get a first round grade, and that number will be probably somewhere from, what I've heard him talk about, from 16 to 20, maybe, something like that. So
the biggest upset would be if they traded up in the first round.
Yeah,
that would be if you went for the longest odds in Vegas.
Yeah,
I would say that would be it, right? You'd see John trade up from 32 to 12 or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, look, they've lost, Boye Mafe, they've lost K9, Bryant,
Reek Woolen.
So, but I just remember, I remember looking at when they traded for Rashid Shaheed, traded away the 4th and the 5th rounder. At that point, they had and I think this included the practice squad, but I don't know if it was a 60 or whatever, but it was somewhere in the 30s as far as players in their 1st through 3rd year. So a lot of youth there. So, maybe it goes a different way. I don't know, but it's all going to be about the individuals that are in the draft, and he just values things differently. So far it's worked out pretty good for him.
Well, Field Yates was a guest of Brock and Salk, and he was asked if this draft class is as bad as everyone seems to think it will be.
There are good players. It's just that, the number of guys that we expect to be all pros within like the 2 to 3 year range, pretty limited. And there are a lot of solid starters in this year's draft class, which I think naturally works to the advantage of the teams picking lower in the draft, meaning closer to 32 than it does those picking in the first 6 to 10 selections, who are probably, based off the fact that history has told us that lots of good players come from the first 10 picks, are saying to themselves, hey, we have, whenever the 8th pick in the draft, time for us to land a difference maker.
So there's a projection, but as we've seen year in, year out, that doesn't hold true. Well, pretty much every year. You've always got busts in the top 10 and the top 15, and you got guys that were 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounders, free agents that turn into not just good players, some of them stars.
Well, some of them Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
That's the question I pose every year. What's more interesting, the first round bust or the free agent superstar, or last pick of the draft, Brock Purdy. I mean, you look at
5th rounder in Sherman. He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Doug Baldwin, free agent.
I'm getting a chance to play in a golf tournament. I'm hoping that John Lynch is going to be there. But, I was just thinking about him. I mean, he was part of the Trey Lance trade where they gave away,
3 first-rounders and a third?
I always say 2 because I can't believe that it's 3.
And a third.
Yeah, the third, I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. 3 first-rounders for Trey Lance, and then, no big deal. Let's just take the last guy in the draft and make him into a quarterback.
Yeah, we'll take a flyer on Mr. Irrelevant. And maybe he'll be a practice body out there for us.
Yeah, so, I mean, and that part of it is always fascinating to me, and especially the Doug Baldwins and the, who else? Who's the D tackle I'm blanking on from Minnesota that was here for a little while? John Randall. I mean, just an unbelievable player. And a free agent.
Well, Sherm was a 5th rounder. That's a guy on his way to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's just, So it's, I mean, back to the original point where he's saying, it's not a great draft class. Okay. I guess on paper that certainly is true. But again, that doesn't mean that Mike McDonald and John Schneider aren't going to look at somebody in the 3rd round, 4th round and go, you know what? I like this guy's skill set, and he fits perfectly with what we want to do on defense, depending on his position. This guy fits and turns into a stud. Maybe he's not a Hall of Famer. Maybe he's Ernest Jones. Maybe somebody like that. Just somebody that just doesn't fit everybody's system or what they got going. But, man, that guy works perfectly for what we'd like to do. Field Yates talked about the top-end talent dropping off dramatically after the early portion of the 1st round.
You could probably find people that see players, and I'm going to pick a range, 20 to 50 as borderline interchangeable. It's not a super top-heavy draft. It's much more about the depth of this draft. There are a couple of positions that are particularly strong, but there are a couple that are worryingly weak as well, quarterback being the most notable amongst those, but running back, not a great running back class this year. And then there are a couple of spots where you've got some players at the top, the depth just dries out in a hurry. So it's a very unique class relative to what we've seen over the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting exercise to just go through the drafts and look at, some of the, because I was thinking about 2020, which wasn't a great, draft for the Seahawks. I think Jordan Brooks was, or is this the one where we had 3 actually?
Which year are you talking about? 21?
2020.
21 is the year they had 3.
Yeah. So 2020 they had Jordan Brooks. Yeah. I mean, he was a leading tackler in the NFL last year.
Done well for Miami.
Yeah. But there were some drafts. I remember years, and 2021 I think was probably the one coming off of COVID and everything, and where you're like, there wasn't, it's not a. That's the last time I remember a lot of the pundits saying that there's not a lot of talent, and yet you go back and look at like Penei Sewell and Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase. I mean, Micah Parsons was in that draft. So, there's always some gems in there that you can find. But, just in general, I mean, I'm not sure how. I mean, maybe John could give us a better idea. Like, what do you think about when you see or you hear people saying, oh, this is not a good draft? And you're like, I wonder how many times he's like, yes, it is.
Yeah, well, he could be looking at it and go, for our purposes, it looks great.
Yeah.
We see a ton of guys that we think are game changers or impact players or whatever. Now, maybe if there were an organization that drafts for need and position, then maybe they're looking at it going, well, the running back class isn't great, but, we need a running back, but we don't love this crop. Maybe that's different, but we've talked about how different his approach is. So we'll see. I don't have any doubts about their ability to identify talent because he's on a heater, as we've talked about.
A heater.
Meanwhile, the national media is very high. They've set the standards very high for the Mariners this season. We're going to get into some of those with MLB.com's Mike Petriello. He's going to join us next with Wyman and Bob. This is Seattle Sports on 710.
9 out of 10 experts agree wearing earbuds at work is the universal signal for leave me alone. So grab the earbuds, pull up the Seattle Sports app, and trade that annoying coworker's endless yapping for this.
He's at the wall. Cal Raleigh nice. First one of the spring.
Listen to every Mariners spring training game live for free, only on the Seattle Sports app. Improving lives through Mariners baseball, one
Sparkling play by Josh Naylor
at a time.
Hey, Brock Hewitt here for my friends at People Come First, or PCF Construction Group. Spring and summer, it's right around the corner. So if you haven't called PCF about getting started on your new deck, well, right now is the time. With a patio cover, heater, and fireplace from PCF, you can enjoy your outdoor deck or patio all year long. And right now, you can get up to $6,000 off your entire project, plus no payments and no interest until 2027. Save an additional $1,500 when you bundle your deck and patio cover. Some restrictions do apply, but do what we did. Contact PCF for all the details and start planning and designing your dream deck now so you're ready to build by the spring. Planning and permits, they can take a little time, so please don't wait. Get started today. Get project ideas, browse photos, and find all the offer details at PCFgroup.com. That's PCFgroup.com.
Making your outdoor space with People Come First.
The nonprofit Puget Sound Senior Baseball League plays real baseball on the best fields. Final tryouts for adults ages 18 to 65 and older are this Sunday, March 22nd at Interlake High School in Bellevue. With 10 divisions featuring different age and skill levels, there's room for almost every ball player, from ex-Little Leaguers in high school to former college and pros. Get all the info at pssbl.com. That's pssbl.com.
You're losing your hair and you simply need a solution that works. You want the best. Modern technology, top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need world-class Dr. Perungo and his team at Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair has completely redefined hair restoration. From the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair, maybe all three like I had. Get your hair back with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment that begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, including mine. And get this, Advanced Hair is once again the winner of the 425 Business of the Year. For your free consultation, call 425-449-8185. Right now, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that redefined hair restoration. That's 425-449-8185. Or for the before and afters, visit advancedhair.com.
Everything that matters is at stake in a divorce. Your home, your savings, your children. For many of our clients, a divorce was unwanted. This is Rick Jones. At Goldberg Jones Divorce for Men, our team of experienced attorneys handle every aspect of a divorce and custody case. When stakes are high, you need a lawyer you can trust. Husbands and fathers trust Goldberg Jones. Visit us at goldbergjones.com to get your questions answered at no charge. That's goldbergjones.com.
Meet Morgan Jones. Morgan is about to step into a world unknown to most, thanks to Progressive's Renters Insurance, a place of fresh linens and turn-down service. You see, Morgan temporarily vacated her apartment and has gone to a hotel because a pipe burst in her apartment. A pipe that made her sense of reality and apartment ceiling all come crashing down. Luckily, Morgan checked into Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
At quarterback, calling the right play could change the whole game. And when your car breaks down, same idea. Make the right call before the big repair bill hits. CarShield helps protect you from expensive auto repairs. Plans include 24/7 roadside assistance, towing, and rental car options, all to keep your drive alive. Look, breakdowns happen, but choosing CarShield, that's the easiest call you'll make all day.
Visit carshield.com now and join the team that's helped millions of drivers save. Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at carshield.com.
That sound? Yeah, that's not a good sign. Hey, it's Drew Brees. And when your car starts making noises like that, a big repair bill might be coming right at you. But with CarShield, you don't have to fear unexpected breakdowns. CarShield helps protect you from expensive auto repairs. I spent my career making tough calls, but this one is simple.
Visit carshield.com now and join the team that's helped millions of drivers save. Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at carshield.com.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Need your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
The countdown is on.
Just 8 days until opening day next Thursday against the Guardians at T-Mobile Park.
On the home of the American League West champion Mariners, Seattle Sports. KIRO AM Seattle. From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Wyman and Bob.
On Seattle Sports.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton.
Well, the opening day for your Seattle Mariners is just right around the corner. Just a few days left of spring training. So we start looking ahead to this season, and who better to do that with than a man who covers the sport for MLB.com. Does a great job in that, and he's with us now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Mike Petriello is with us. How are you, man?
Hey, guys, I'm doing great. Excited for the season.
Yeah, you and everybody else cannot wait for it. And I'm curious, you wrote a piece, I don't know, it was almost 2 weeks ago, where you were ranking the 30 teams there, and you had them in tiers. You had the Dodgers in their own tier. They were all by themselves. But the next tier had the Mariners in it. And I think it was something along the lines of, World Series ring or bust, something along those lines. Give me a sense of what went into that and how you came about putting the Mariners in that category.
Yeah, I think understandably the Dodgers sort of hover above the rest of the sport, as happens when you win 2 World Series in a row. But then you look at everybody else, and there's a second tier there where it's like just making the playoffs is probably not good enough. That's not success. When you're the Mariners, obviously you went to Game 7 of the ALCS. Just getting back to the wild card or whatever, that's not good enough. You want to go further. When I look at this Mariners team, I think this might be the most confident I feel in their roster in going on 25 years. Can't say I remember the 2001 team that well, but at least in the last couple of decades, this is a really solidly built team. I don't see any massive holes, like some things I can quibble with. And mostly, I look around the rest of the American League, and I'm wondering who the super team is that they can't beat. I think the Blue Jays will be very good again, but I think a lot of things went right for them last year. Obviously, I like the Yankees, the Tigers, whatever, but I look at an AL West that I think is getting weaker, and I look at an American League that doesn't have a Dodgers-level team, and I think to myself, well, why not the Mariners? They are in position, and I really think this could be the year they get there.
Mike, the pitching is a known quantity out here, but what did you like about their offseason additions or maybe natural growth in the lineup? What about their lineup gives you confidence in this team?
I know everybody wants to point to Brendan Donovan, and yes, that's a good one. But the one I really liked was Josh Naylor, believe it or not, because I remember when I looked up, his numbers. I think it was over the last 2 seasons. I can't remember if it was 3. He and Cody Bellinger are really, really similar in a lot of ways. And I know you wouldn't think that to look at them, right? Like different body types, they don't look at all like each other. Naylor doesn't play the outfield. I get that, but just in terms of hitting, they're pretty similar. And you look at the contracts they got, and obviously Seattle's not always a place that batters want to go to, and Naylor clearly did want to go there. And I was like, this is one of my favorite deals of the winter, I think, because he's not going to be, 40 homer, big bat, but that's fine. He's an above average bat who's reliable, who's a better first baseman than I think people probably give him credit for. And I think you take him, you take Donovan, obviously, to what was already a pretty good lineup, and all of a sudden it just gets deeper. You don't have sort of the black holes in some of these spots. And I think Seattle fans are really going to enjoy the Josh Naylor experience.
When you look at this team as it sits right now, and we'll see who they break camp with, but it seems pretty set for the most part. Where are the holes, if you see holes with this team?
Yeah, for me, it's a little bit about the infield. Cole Young has a lot to prove. Obviously, Cole Emerson, whoever's going to end up filling some of these second base and third base spots, Donovan helps with that a lot for sure. But you're still going to need one of these young guys to step up a little bit, especially with Williamson having been traded off to Tampa. And I've kind of always had some questions about J.P. Crawford because the defense, the metrics have never really, stepped up to what I think his reputation is. And I know he's dealing with a little bit of an injury thing right now with the shoulder, which I don't think it's super serious, but obviously it's holding him back a little bit. So for me, I do think it's the middle infield, depending on how much Donovan plays there, as opposed to third base, outfield, where I think he'll get some time too. So you need one of those guys to step up, whether it's Young, Rivas, Emerson, somebody. That's the main trouble spot for me.
Hey, Mike, what would be maybe a fair or realistic expectation for Cal Raleigh offensively this year?
That's a great question, because the expectation cannot be 60 homers. Maybe he'll do it, but if you're going into it saying, man, he doesn't hit 6. Yeah, right, exactly. It's wild to say hits 40 homers. That's taking a 20 homer step back, which is a crazy thing to say about that. I think the key thing for me here is that while I do think you saw his career year, I do think you saw the best year he'll ever give you. It's not like he wasn't previously a great player. 34 homers the year before, 30 homers the year before that. He's got this established track record of power and solid defense. And while I don't think I could say, hey, he's going to hit another 60 bombs, could I really reasonably sit here and say that I don't think he's going to hit 40? To say that's an expectation and not a great year, I think tells you a little bit about the amount of respect he's earned over the course of his career. So I will go with a very, very, very good season, if somewhat fewer than 60 home runs.
What's your feeling about the WBC as it pertains to the teams that these guys play for? We're looking at it out here. A, you're hoping nobody gets hurt. That's first and foremost. But B, maybe specifically in a case like Julio, who's a notorious slow starter, maybe this gets things going a little quicker. He's playing games that are much more intense, much more consequence attached to him. Do you think ultimately this is going to be a good thing for teams and these players that are participating, or is that something you're just like, well, maybe it is for some and others not so much?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit hit or miss. I mean, you're not playing that many games, and I'd have to go look it up, but I don't think Julio has been tearing the cover off the ball necessarily, because I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, exactly. Maybe this will get him going, but I made that great catch the other night, right, to rob Judge, I believe it was, of a home run.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a little bit different for the hitters than the pitchers, just because you're going to get different amounts of playing time. And there's definitely been guys on the bench of some of these teams who've barely played at all. That's not Julio's issue, obviously, because he's been a starting player. So mostly I don't look at it as that big of a deal, with the exception of I really like it for some of the younger guys who are maybe, prospects coming up, and all of a sudden, instead of playing, another backfield game in Maryvale or whatever, here they are pitching to Julio Rodriguez or getting to face Tark Skubal or whatever. And those guys can really see what it's like to be in the locker room with these guys, feel what it's like for a game that really matters. So for the young players who are out there, I like that a lot. For the veterans, I'm not sure it's going to make that big of a difference carrying into the season.
Hey, Mike, along those lines of international competitions, I know some guys, and there have been talks about, maybe getting MLB players in the Olympics for 2028. Bryce Harper certainly expressed how much he likes the Olympics. And do you see that working, and what would be the impact on the MLB schedule?
I see it working just because everybody involved seems to want to make it work. Like, as you said, a number of players just seem to want to make it work. As far as I understand, that the league is interested in finding a way to make it work. And in my experience, if both the players and the owners want to find a way to make something work, they will find a way to make it work. So I'm guessing it will, come out in some way that it works. As far as the actual schedule, that's where it gets a little bit tricky. It's probably going to be over the All-Star break, and it's going to take 10-ish days. I think an important thing to remember, there's not nearly as many teams as there are for the WBC. So you can get through it a little bit faster, but it's going to interrupt the season. I think some of the guys who are not on these teams will have to find a way to keep fresh over that midseason break. But at the end of the day, we've never done this before. We have not seen pros in the Olympics interrupting the Major League season in quite this way. And when I say this way, just the way we're assuming it'll work, because it's not even codified yet. So the answer is, I don't think anybody who tells you they really know how this is going to affect everybody has any idea about it whatsoever, because it's going to be brand new.
Well, and then if there's a lockout, which it feels like is almost a certainty, that impacts that. If they're locked out, players aren't playing, is what I was reading from. So, yeah, it's good. I don't know. Any optimism on your part as far as the lockout goes? Are we too attached to the idea that it's a foregone conclusion?
What I think about that is, I know that is going to be a topic that dominates baseball conversation over the upcoming year, completely understandably so. But I also think we know one thing for certain, which is that in negotiations like this, it's rare, if not impossible, that anything will happen before the last second it needs to, right? So I sort of look at it as, the 2026 season is going to be a whole lot of fun, and I don't think anything important in the labor situation is going to change until November. So I sort of look at that as, that's a November problem. Right now, I'm interested in how much fun this season is going to be ahead.
Right, and I'm with you on that, but I'm curious if you, hypothetically playing it out, they do have a lockout and it interrupts the season. Can baseball rebound the way they did in the mid-'90s? I mean, in the mid-'90s, you had the McGuire-Sosa chase, and you had Cal Ripken chasing that record that kind of bailed them out, got people interested in the game where otherwise they might have turned their back and been angry. We don't know that anything like that's going to be going on, obviously. So is this a sport that can – obviously it'll survive, but what kind of damage do you think it does, assuming they lose some games?
I wouldn't assume that, and I also just don't think it can be answered without knowing what actually happens. If it's a couple weeks, it's one thing. If it's months, it's another thing. If it gets really salty on both sides, that's a different thing. It's pure speculation until we see how it actually plays out, which kind of goes back to what I said. I'm trying not to worry about it until the time comes when we need to.
Hey, Mike, love all the things that you guys add and tinker with on StatCast. Really makes kind of watching and following the sport so enjoyable. You guys put out the ABS dashboard recently with all of it coming on in spring training. Have you noticed anything that kind of surprises you about the data or maybe reaffirms a belief about what to expect with these ABS challenges when the regular season starts?
Yeah, that's been a lot of fun to watch. And to some extent, you have to remember who's not there because who is at the WBC, right? So we haven't seen a lot of Juan Soto. We haven't seen a lot of Aaron Judge and the players that we all are most interested in seeing. But what's been fascinating to me is we had this data from AAA for all of last season. And we looked at that and said, okay, here's what we think will happen. But also it's AAA. Who knows what happens when you get to the major leaguers? And so far in spring training, it's been kind of exactly what we saw from the AAA guys last year. It's been about a 50-50 overturn rate. Fielders, catchers specifically, are much better at this than batters. Pitchers are generally not allowed to do it, which is funny. And I really like the overturn rate being something like 50-50. I think right now it's 52%, because people love to say that umpires are terrible and awful. And I know that call that ended the Dominican game the other night was not, great, but it's like, when the players challenge a call, they are cherry picking a call. They're saying, I think this is wrong. I'm getting to pick this one. And they're still only right half the time, which kind of shows me how hard it is to be an umpire and how great a job they really do, which I think is true. If you can't hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, it's also not easy to call if it's a ball or strike or not.
Hey, just back to the AL West quickly. I'm curious to just get your take on the other teams there. Do you still look at the Astros as the big bully that the Mariners need to worry most about, or are we sleeping on this A's team's got a lot of young talent? I don't know if they've got the pitching, but they got a lot of young talent. Rangers adding as well. Angels are the Angels. But what's your take on the AL West outside of the Mariners?
I think if I were to look at the 6 divisions, okay, obviously the Dodgers are the team that's the clear number one in that division, but of the other 5, I think I probably have the Mariners winning by the largest margin of any of the other 5. And that's because when I look at this division, I think the Angels are going to be, a mess, 100-loss team for the Angels. I think the A's have super fun hitting, as you said, and I don't know who's going to pitch for them at all. The teams that are interesting to me are mostly, Texas and Houston. I think Texas is going to be better than they showed last year. I really do. I think their lineup's going to be improved. If DeGrom's healthy, that's potentially a Cy Young there. And the Astros, I sort of feel like have hit the end of the line. I don't think they're going to be bad. I'm not trying to say a last place team or anything like that. But it's been a couple of years since I really looked at them as being this big, bad bully of the West, probably since that last time they went to the World Series. And, the rotation has been limited now that Efrain Valdez is gone, and I have questions about the lineup. And I don't know if Yordan Alvarez is going to be healthy enough to hit. So I do think that this is sort of the beginning of the end, I guess the end of the beginning, really, of their great run of dominance, because they just do not look like the same team. And that's kind of why I say this is the year for Seattle, because each year for the last, 3 or 4 seasons, I've looked at this division and said, man, that's a tough 3-team race right at the top. I have no idea who's going to win this because I kind of like all 3 teams evenly. And that's just not true anymore. I like Texas less than they did, and I like Houston less than that. And that's why I really think Seattle's got the edge this year.
Mike, what do you expect out of some of these key guys in the Mariners rotation? Very up and down year for Logan Gilbert or Bryce Miller last year with all these injuries. Do you have confidence in the bounce back? Do you still kind of wait and see what this rotation might be like? How do you feel about those 5 and maybe in a little bit of the depth pieces heading into the season?
Well, you said the word there, injuries, right? If healthy, which is a huge if, Woo, Kirby, Gilbert, Miller, these guys are all very, very good. Even Castillo, who I don't necessarily look as a borderline ace anymore, more of a good mid-rotation guy. But like every other team in baseball, it comes down to the if healthy. I think right now I would say they have, let's say, the second best rotation in the American League, because I think I like Boston's just a touch better, but it's not by that much. And then, you look at what they have coming up behind them, especially in the bullpen, Munoz and Brash. And I loved the trade for Jose from Washington, because I know that people looked at this deal and they said, oh, the Mariners are trading top prospect catcher and they're only getting a reliever with like a 4.5 ERA back. And not only was, Harry Ford blocked by Cal Raleigh, you look at all of the underlying metrics for Ferrer, every single one under the hood said this guy is so much better than that lousy ERA. He's going to get away from the worst framing catchers in baseball, a pretty lousy defense behind him. And I thought that was just a really, really smart and kind of under the radar move to improve what was already a really good pitching staff.
Hey, Mike, before we let you go, I'm just curious to get your take on Dan Wilson. You know how it is in each city. When their team loses a game, the fan base thinks the manager doesn't know anything. So, there's some of that, certainly with this, the way things ended. Dan doesn't know what he's doing with the bullpen, blah, blah, blah. Overall, what his first full season as a manager, I don't know. If you were going to grade him, was he better than you thought? Was he about what you thought he'd be? How do you view Dan Wilson after one full season as a manager?
Well, I guess you have to say better than you thought because they got to Game 7 of the ALCS. Right? Yeah. So by any definition, I understand that there's a bad taste in everybody's mouth. I remember watching some of those games and maybe not necessarily agreeing with all the decisions, sack bunts and bullpen choices. I don't think I'm alone in that. I'm sure a lot of the fan base feels exactly the same way. But I also remember a year ago, every Blue Jays fan wanted to chase John Schneider out of town because he had failed. And now he's the toast of the town because he had a great year. And I don't want to say managers don't matter because I don't believe that to be true. But I also think we know how quickly opinions can change on them back and forth. And I think what you can do is say, well, got pretty far in the playoffs last year. We saw some mistakes, and hopefully we can see that maybe we don't make the same mistakes again. And that'll make you feel a lot better about it going forward.
Mike Petriello of MLB.com does a great job covering the sport. Follow him on Twitter at Mike_Petriello. Great stuff there for baseball fans. We always appreciate the time. Thanks so much, man, and look forward to talking to you again down the road.
Thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy the season.
There you go. There's Mike Petriello of MLB.com. If you guys missed any part of that conversation, you'll be able to find it on the podcast page after the show at seattlesports.com. Click the podcast tab. Click on our picture, and there it is, waiting for you after the show each and every night. And don't forget, click subscribe because it's free, which is the right price. And that way you don't have to remember. It just shows up for you. It's beautiful. But he's very high on the Mariners, saying, hey, wild card or just a trip to the playoffs is not – they're beyond that now, which is a good place to be. Yeah, it's certainly a higher bar that they have to reach, but I think it's a fair bar. He did that article. It was just, I think, under 2 weeks ago. I was looking at it, and he had the in tiers for the power rankings, if you will. I just
pulled it up.
The Dodgers have their own tier. They were number one, and so they're going for 3 in a row. He had them in their own tier. But the next tier had the Yankees, had the Mariners, had the next group of what he said it's not acceptable to be anywhere other than the World Series, essentially, to paraphrase.
Which is going to be tough because he has 9 teams here. So obviously they all can't make it. So a lot of teams are going to be disappointed.
A lot will come up short.
Yeah, I think he should have called the top tier Dodgers. He didn't. He just said chasing history. But yeah, you mentioned it to him. World Series or bust. So
how did he describe the tier 2?
That's what it's called. World Series or bust.
Yeah.
The tier 1, it should have been named Dodgers, but it was named History is in Sight. And tier 2 is literally titled World Series Ring. World Series Ring or bust. Oh, wow. Okay.
See,
that's a little too much. World Series would be fine with me.
As confident as I am in the Mariners, and look, anything can happen, but the Dodgers are an all-star team. They really are an all-star team. And the idea that the Mariners would beat them in a 7-game series if both teams are completely healthy, which at the end of the year probably isn't likely, but just playing that hypothetical out, I wouldn't put money on it. They're capable. I would obviously be rooting for them to do it, but the Dodgers are a juggernaut if they're healthy. But they didn't cruise last year. They had some shaky moments, and it looked like they weren't going to get there last year. And they. Now they brought in Edwin Diaz and Kyle Tucker. They're just that much better. But, the American League, as Petriello was saying, there isn't a Dodgers. There isn't that giant in the American League. I mean, I really believe it's the Mariners and the Blue Jays and probably the Yankees.
And the Blue Jays, they loaded up. They got some guys, but they also had some significant departures. So you're talking departures, just looking at, all right, what don't they have from last year? The Mariners lost significantly less than the Blue Jays. Everything that Aaron was rattling off with us when Goldsmith was just on, it's like this guy, all dudes. Yeah. I mean, the Blue Jays lost Bo Bichette, and sure, he's replaceable. They lost Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, a decent postseason for them. Chris Bassett, one of their starting pitchers. So the Mariners' rotation is perfectly intact. The Blue Jays lost some things, and it is Blue Jays, Mariners once again, and the Yankees will always be there.
Polanco.
The Mariners lost Polanco. Yeah, that's a big loss, but compared to other teams, and the Yankees missed out on
Gino,
Kyle Tucker.
But you only had Gino for the second half.
And you could say you added Donovan, so that's a maybe 1-for-1 replacement in terms of potential there. The Mariners are in much better shape than everyone, but probably the Blue Jays, and they're on the same level with the Blue Jays. I'd say over the course of an 8-month season, we'll see what happens and what shape the rosters are in. But there's a lot to be optimistic about, and I almost, protective sake, I'm like, hey, don't get so excited. You guys talked about it with the Seahawks when everyone was so excited finally. It's like, well, we know what could go wrong at times because we've seen it. But then they just got to a point where you're so overwhelmingly confident. I'm sure that will happen at some point with the Mariners, but at this point, there's still so much of the season to get to and then get through. And we know all the little minor cracks that could happen, or just knowing that J.P. Crawford is still dealing with his shoulder and Bryce Miller is working his way back to full strength. It's like, well, God, if this kind of builds on itself, I can see what can go wrong. But it's also nice to get that national 1,000-foot view of, oh, look, from all the way down there, they look really good, and I don't see much that could be a weakness on this team. Yeah.
Look, they're going to, despite what everybody thinks of them, they're going to have a valley. There's going to be peaks. There's going to be valley. That's baseball. That's what makes it great. That's what makes the journey fun. There are times of despair. There are times of, oh man, they've lost 5 in a row and they've plated 2 runs in 5 games, or their pitchers are getting low. Whatever goes wrong. That's baseball. But then they're going to have that stretch where they look unbeatable. And man, they are just lighting it up. They're crushing the ball. The pitchers are just dominating. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I think we're all better conditioned to it now as fans, based on how things have gone. Hey, opening day is next Thursday. Can you believe it? We want to send you and a friend to have an opening day experience like you've never had before. You can enjoy player introductions, the first pitch, and much more, and do it all from the field. Now, to enter, all you need to do is open the Seattle Sports app, click the Win tab to find out how. If you don't already have the app, text the word app, APP, to 866-979-3776. We'll send you a link to download it. It's completely free. You can enter every day to increase your chances to win. The contest runs through tomorrow, though, so get on it if you'd like to experience that in a way you never have. Meanwhile, what's left for the Seahawks to do in free agency? We'll get into that next with Wyman and Bob at Seattle Sports on 710.
Breaking news this morning from ESPN.
Is it finally happening?
Good golly, Miss Molly.
ESPN's Shams Charania, the NBA, will vote next week to explore adding expansion teams in Vegas and Seattle. Joining us now, Shams himself.
The NBA is projecting that both Seattle and Las Vegas would immediately jump into the top 8 of revenue-generating teams.
Stay caught up on the latest at seattlesports.com and Seattle Sports on 710, the app, and YouTube.
Flying chickens in a barnyard.
At Valvoline Instant Oil Change, we perform an 18-point maintenance check with every oil change to help make sure you're good to go.
And?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Huh. Wonder why the dealership isn't that easy.
Well, we'd let you know if we found something in our check.
Oh, great. That was easy.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Quick, thorough, and honest. Come with no charge.
During Lowe's Pro Savings Days, save more on what goes into the job. Add power to your lineup with a free DeWalt 20-volt max 5-amp-hour battery when you buy a select DeWalt 20-volt max tool. Plus, get up to 35% off select major appliances from Whirlpool, Maytag, and more. Get the job done right. Keep more in your pocket. That's Pro Savings Days. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/27. Selection varies by location. While supplies last.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play.
Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
T-Mobile has an exclusive bundle for customers 55 and up.
I'm Sarah Bowl.
Yeah, I'm Frank Bowl.
A reliable network is key for us. And with T-Mobile, it's been wonderful. And going to the 55-plus plan saved us so much money.
A lot.
And that's important. Trying to keep costs down. The home internet's been perfect. It's fast, it's quick. The setup was so easy, it took less than 15 minutes.
It was like, ta-da! If you want simplicity, coverage, reliability, you want the whole package, T-Mobile has it. Right now, T-Mobile customers 55 and up can get 2 phone lines on America's best network, plus America's fastest 5G home internet for just $30 each.
$30 per month each line with autopay plus taxes and fees. Minimum age 55. Pricing for home internet rely on 2 lines of Essentials Choice 55. $35 connection charge per line required. Best mobile network and fastest 5G home internet based on analysis by Ookla of Speed Test Intelligence data 2H 2025. All rights reserved.
Can you imagine a world where you leave the house and you take your home Wi-Fi speeds with you? Well, thanks to Xfinity Mobile, it's not just a fantasy. Just picture it. You're at your kid's soccer practice. You're streaming the other game in 4K just like that. Or how about in the airport? You can download a cozy family comedy in a snap with Wi-Fi Power Boost. What if the places you had to be felt more like everywhere you wanted to be? That's the magic of Xfinity Mobile. Reliable Wi-Fi and 5G when you need it. Xfinity, imagine that. Cut your mobile bill in half with 2 lines of unlimited. Visit XfinityMobile.com to learn more. Some restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet required. Savings based on promotional rate for 2 lines of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited versus regular rates for 2 lines of T-Mobile. Experience more. Verizon Unlimited Plus and AT&T Starter as of 2/10/26. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, the regular rates apply, but go check it all right now. Put it right in your fingertips with XfinityMobile.com.
Don't miss the John Schneider Show, presented by Silver City Brewery.
I truly believe defense wins championships.
Thursdays at 4, only on Seattle Sports.
Jackson Hewitt will do your taxes for $149 or less, no matter how complicated. So if you're a delivery driver, / handyman, / wedding DJ, you pay only $149 or less. We're talking to you, waitress.
Check, please.
/ pet sitter, / influencer. Just $149 or less. Want your refund to work as hard as you? Hurry, don't wait. File with Jackson Hewitt today. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com /149.
Get 5 quarts of Valvoline Full Synthetic Motor Oil and a MicroGuard Select Oil Filter for just $36.99. Limit supply.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Go from daydreamer to industry leader with Amazon Business. From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
It's funny how you get used to things in not so ideal condition around the house. It's Dave Wyman here, and for me, it was old windows. After 20 years in our home, virtually every window had a broken seal. We got used to cold drafts, outside noises, and condensation. And if you're in the same boat, use this spring to say goodbye to the old, dreary windows and hello to your new exclusive windows from Harley Exteriors. Right now, they're having a spring cleaning sale to complete your home makeover. If you buy 10 windows, you can choose between 20% off your entire project or get a free door. On top of that, make 0 payments and accumulate 0 interest for up to 12 months for qualified buyers. Harley Exteriors windows are a massive upgrade, manufactured right here in the Pacific Northwest and exclusive to Harley Exteriors. Call 833-HARLEY, that's HARLEY, or go to harleyexteriors.com. Schedule your free consultation today at harleyexteriors.com.
Wyman and Bob.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Our thanks once again to Mike Petriello of MLB.com, who joined us in the previous segment. In case you guys just tuned in and missed that conversation, you'll be able to find it on the podcast page after the show at seattlesports.com. Meanwhile, taking a look at the Seahawks for a little bit here, and the text line is there for you at 866-979-3776. For Seahawks fans, how are you feeling about their offseason so far? Are they a better team? Are they a better team than the one that ended the season? Hard to say that. You've traded names, obviously you're very familiar, or not traded, but lost names you're very familiar with, and Ken Walker and Reek Woolen and Boye Mafe and Kobe Bryant and all those guys we had been talking about incessantly. And you brought on names that you're not nearly as familiar with. Doesn't mean they won't be productive or be good on this team, but you didn't take any big swings, as we've talked about, in terms of bringing in a star or somebody, a Max Crosby, anything like that. You haven't done anything that's got the fan base that, as far as I can see, going, okay, now I like this move. This makes them better in this spot, or this makes them better at this position group. How do you feel about the offseason?
Well, do you think Max Crosby will still be traded? Remember, we heard that one guy last week say he thinks it's very unlikely that he's on the Raiders. So I don't know. That's kind of looms out there. Free agency-wise, yeah, very quiet offseason. Just kind of like we were talking about with Aaron and the Mariners. Not a lot of questions position battle-wise for the Mariners because they're such a veteran established team. For the Seahawks, you come off a Super Bowl, you don't have to make a big splashy move. It would have been nice to try to keep as many free agents as possible internally. It seems like they prioritized the ones they absolutely had to have back. So I feel a little bit better knowing that they got Shaheed back, because at first it seemed like that would be impossible as well. And then you'd open up, all right, questions at wide receiver. Don't really have a running back answer. You did lose a little bit of positional edge depth. But when you look at this team, really, you lost guys that it's not going to be a significant blow. You have guys that can replace them. Your depth just might be a little thinner. You're not going to ever return every single person from a Super Bowl championship team. No team in NFL history is going to have the luxury of doing that, especially with what the salary cap it is, what it is right now. But because the Seahawks have drafted so well, they had time to kind of build around these guys leaving. Now, maybe you get slightly weaker at safety or cornerback. You have some unknowns to address, and running back still looms out there. But I don't think it's a significant blow to say, well, look, the Seahawks lost X guy and he's irreplaceable. They'll have the draft. They'll have some depth pieces they can bring in. It's not a sexy offseason, but they're in a place where you don't have to have a splashy one like they did last year, where, hey, last year they had to because they completely overhauled the offense. It is almost that, let me tinker and find this right piece here. And, yeah, it's not going to be a flashy, quote, win the offseason kind of free agency.
Boy, they signed outside of Rashid, a lot of one-year deals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, they're just taking a flyer on guys. Like, hey, if it works, great. It's cost effective. We'll hopefully be able to re-sign them if they become that player. But they're making no real commitments to this point. And keeping in mind, JSN and Spoon are both sitting there waiting for contract extensions. So I'm sure that's part of the math here. But when you look at and Job is the other one, had a multi-year deal. But outside of those two, Emmanuel Wilson, you signed running back from Green Bay, a one-year deal worth up to $2.1 million. Josh Jones, they re-signed on a one-year deal. Let's see. Brandon Peely, 1 year, $2 million deal. Rodney Thomas, the second, safety, signs a 1 year deal. DeAnthony Bell signed. They brought him back, signing him to a 1 year deal. Noah, how do you say his last name?
I don't even know. They just signed him, right?
Yeah, 1 year deal.
Yeah, let's look it up. Yeah, Noah, 1 year deal.
Yeah. I don't know how you say that last name.
Pro Football Reference. Dave's favorite place.
But he's a journeyman. He's a guy that's he's played from Miami and Dallas and Washington, and he's a journeyman.
Igbin Ogany. Igbig Ogany. That's a fun segment. Let's try to have me pronounce this name. Yes, thank you.
Ogany. Noah Igbin Ogany.
Yes. Igbig Ogany. There we go.
There you go. All right. Signed him to a 1 year deal. And again, he's a journeyman that's been on multiple teams. He was the 30th overall pick back in 2020 for the Dolphins. Again, since his play for the Dolphins, the Cowboys, the Commanders. So we'll see. He feels like depth. Feels like a depth move. But I don't know if you're going to grade do you feel like they're better than they were? Because I don't think you can say that. I don't think.
Well, yeah, but that's the challenge of winning the Super Bowl, and that's why you've had one repeat champion in 20-some years. So it had been 24 years until the Chiefs did it, and it's very tough. It's very challenging to get back to the Super Bowl. But you also have to keep in mind the Seahawks are ending the season in a better place than any other team. They are the best team in football, so every other team has to add to get there. And I think maybe the one team you could say got to that level, or at least made the impact additions and were close, were the Rams. They play it out on the field, and that's the one team that scares you. But every other team hey, keep in mind when they signed so-and-so, and it was a terrible free agent class. I don't even know what you would say was the biggest free agent splash signing this year. Trey Hendrickson, maybe, for the Ravens. All right, so say Trey Hendrickson was the biggest free agent name signed. The Ravens were a disaster last year. So, okay, adding him, cool. They had the best offseason, perhaps, right now in terms of additions. They're nowhere close to the kind of team the Seahawks were. I would put that as the Rams. They made that big trade. Trades are still out there. Maybe that's a potential for the Seahawks. But, yeah, they're just not going to make a free agent splash that's going to get anyone excited. But you don't have to be because of what's coming back for this team.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. But our team's getting better while the Seahawks, again, I acknowledge this is before the draft. This is before anything close to a final roster. We're just looking at where they sit currently in comparison to their competition in the NFC West. Have the Rams surpassed them? Would you look at just looking at the roster, not talking about what happened last season, but would you just look at the Rams roster versus the Seahawks roster? Are the Rams better now? Did they leapfrog them with these moves?
I mean, on paper, because of the additions and the lack of notable losses, the Seahawks were decimated from that 2022 draft class because it was such a key part of their team. So if you think, now this is also a perception, if you think someone like Riq Woolen is not replaceable, all right, well, the Seahawks obviously think they can replace him. Or someone like Kobe Bryant, who we talked about, and that's going to hurt. Well, maybe it is confidence in Ty Okada, or yes, that's what the draft is for. Look what Gray Zabel did, or Nicky Manwari, those early selections for them, or all the rookie production they've gotten from the past, 3 to 4 seasons. So if they would have had to have someone back, I think they would have tried everything possible. At this point, just purely off-season right now, early stages of free agency into the offseason, the Rams have made more notable additions with fewer losses to a roster that was comparable to the Seahawks. The Seahawks would be behind them right now, but you do have the draft to help boost whatever you think is a deficiency.
Let's see. 206 says, as a Seahawks fan, I'm okay with where we are at right now, short of the draft, obviously. Still early. We've made the smart moves. It's going to be okay. We won't have a final grade until after the draft, though. Just happy D-Law hasn't retired yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it.
We haven't heard anything about him. 360, our biggest loss of the offseason was Kubiak. That's fair. Yeah, but in terms of players out there on the field, you lost some stuff. You lost a... Look, and I don't think Ken Walker is the greatest running back in the league, and how do you replace him? He was just a guy that proved to be very productive, especially when Charbonnet went down, and would love to have had him back. But I feel like running backs are ultimately pretty replaceable.
Right.
Kobe Bryant was the one guy, and even Kobe Bryant, as much as I didn't want to see him leave, he's not an all-pro. I don't mean to make him sound like he's destined for Canton, Ohio, but he just fit. He was one of those guys that I thought was a nice player in the system, and it really suited him. And I really didn't want to see him go. But, yeah, I don't know. Curious to see where people are at with their offseason to this point, acknowledging you still have the draft. You still have other moves to be made. So we'll see where they go. Meanwhile, the Mariners are getting closer to making some key opening day decisions. We'll get into that next with Wyman and Bob at Seattle Sports on 710.
4 Down Territory. Michael Bumpus answers the top 4 football questions of the day.
You watched every target to Rashid Shaheed, so what did you see?
He's good off the line. I like his release. He has a couple releases that he goes to that works. And the reason why they work is because he's extremely fast. We have to respect everything that he does. I think that once he gets on a defender's hip, he is gone. The saying, if he's even, he's leaving. That is exactly him.
Catch every 4 Down Territory on the Seattle Sports app.
Start having fun. Caesar Sportsbook at Muckleshoot Casino Resort is your #1 place to eat, drink, watch, and have fun. Keep up with your favorite sports anywhere and everywhere on property with the mobile app. Visit MuckleshootCasino.com today. Scan the QR code and let the play begin.
Muckleshoot. The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Cards issued by JPMorgan Chase Bank, NA member FDIC, subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
The
this is Brock Eward. Seastar Restaurant and Raw Bar is celebrating 24 years as Bellevue's go-to for fresh, seasonal seafood, and me and my family's as well. My good friend Chef John Howie delivers excellence behind every single plate, and it doesn't matter. Local oysters, sushi, cedar plank salmon, generous portions, polished service, and meals that become lasting memories. Right now, 3-course dinners in the lounge, starting at just $50. Seastar, the dining experience you remember. SeastarRestaurant.com.
P&D Tree Service, local experts in tree removal for residential and commercial. Their team works fast to remove problem trees in your yard and neighborhood. If you were hit hard by the storm, P&D Tree will remove trees and clean up while minimizing impact on your landscaping. 24-hour emergency service, any job, big or small, safe, efficient, and fast. P&D Tree Service turns multi-day jobs into a few hours, saving you time and money. Enjoy a clean, safe, and bright yard. PNDTreeService.com.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Drew Brees here. Whether you're on the field or on the road, having the right team on your side makes all the difference. I learned that the hard way. On the field, you don't go anywhere without a solid O-line. And when your car breaks down, you want that same kind of protection. That's why I trust CarShield. Their protection plans help you tackle expensive repairs so that you're not blindsided.
Visit carshield.com now and join the team that's helped millions of drivers save. Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at carshield.com.
Opening day is just days away, and we want to send you and a friend to experience it like never before. Get front row access to the opening ceremonies, player introductions, first pitch, and more, all from the field. To enter, just open the Seattle Sports app and hit the Win tab. You can enter once per day, so the more you enter, the better your chances. Better hustle. Contest runs through March 18th. From the home of your American League West champion Mariners, Seattle Sports. Don't miss 3 Tree Roofing Mariners Cactus League Baseball.
This could be 2. JP has it, goes to the bag, steps on second, fires to first, double play.
Broadcast times at seattlesports.com.
For over 113 years, Pacific Lamp and Supply Company has been your #1 lighting specialist in Washington, from the Space Needle in Seattle all the way to the Riverwalk in Spokane. With the largest lighting inventory in Washington, Pacific Lamp's knowledgeable and experienced staff can assist with any lighting issue, including intricate lighting and control designs. Plus, they work with all utilities in Washington to get you the best available lighting rebates. Pacific Lamp and Supply Company, Washington's lighting experts since 1912. Visit pacificlamp.com.
For those diagnosed with anxiety, depression, or PTSD, Northwest Ketamine Clinics wants you to know hope is within reach. Here's Brandon, a recent patient.
Going to sleep was challenging. Getting my brain to turn off was challenging. Just kind of getting through every day was a bit challenging. Like everything was a little too hard, a little too much resistance, and that just kind of evaporated. After the first few sessions of ketamine, it was noticeable. People remarked on it pretty quickly. I had done maybe 2 sessions, 3 sessions, and people started going, what are you doing differently? You look awesome. You just look like your skin is healthier and you look happier. To anyone thinking about giving it a try, if you have depression, ADHD, bipolar, any of those things feel like they would vastly benefit from it. So go for it. That's what I say.
Welcome to the Pacific Northwest's most experienced ketamine center. Book a free phone or video consult at nwketamineclinics.com. Healing starts here.
No matter how old you get, you always remember that one great teacher. Hi, this is Rick Riz, inviting you to join WSECU in celebrating Teacher of the Week. Great teachers inspire. Nominate a teacher you feel has changed a life in our community. This year, we're going to honor 24 great teachers with grants of $500, courtesy of WSECU, the credit union for Washington. Teachers are the real MVPs. Nominate an exceptional teacher now at mynorthwest.com/teacher.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Wyman and Bob.
Weekdays 2 to 7
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
We're all kind of wondering, who might be the opening day starter. We talked about that a bit yesterday. I think if we're just going on who we think is the one deserving based on who they were last year, and assuming everybody's healthy, it'd probably be Brian Wu that would be going this year. But we'll see what Dan. I think it's between Wu and Gilbert. I think those are your only two options, really. But Dan was asked. This is yesterday after the game. He was asked when he will name an opening day starter.
Yeah, we're going to look at that here in the next day or so, and we should have a little bit more definitive in a day or so. Just making sure everything's laid out the way it should be, and we've got all our I's dotted and T's crossed, and we're getting very close to setting that.
Well, if you look at the numbers, as far as between those two, just in spring training, 11 and a third for Logan Gilbert, and his ERA was 2.38. And Brian was a little bit further down. He only pitched 7 2/3 during spring training, anyway. Mm-hmm. So, Logan. To me, it's Logan, but I don't know. You never know with Brian Wu. Well, I tell you, the one thing I noticed about Wu, and we didn't get a chance to talk to him, but you just look at the way he carries himself and everything. He's much, much more serious. Mm-hmm. He is a very serious young man, and he's ferocious. So I think either one of those is fine, but it just seems to me that Logan and what he means, and also the fact that they've talked about signing him to a long-term deal, that it would be Logan.
Yeah, I don't. And that's the other part we talked about yesterday is I don't know what that means to him in the way that obviously it's an honor and he would appreciate it. I think it was a true honor for him last year to be the opening day starter, but I don't know that he's a guy that is going to get in his feelings about it if he's not the opening day starter. He just doesn't strike me as that guy that if Dan said, look, Logan, we're going with Brian for this reason, whatever he says to him, however he breaks that news. I think I just picture Logan going, yeah, okay. Yeah, he just doesn't it seem like that's how he is? Like, I think he'd love it. I think if he were the guy, he'd really, be appreciative as he was last year. But I just don't see him having an overly negative response to it. So the idea that, hey, we're going to do this because we want to get in his good graces when we approach him about a contract extension, I don't know if it's necessary with him.
Yeah, maybe not. I would say this, though, because he can handle it. Maybe sometimes he might get screwed. I mean, that's something you have to be careful of. It's like, okay, this guy can handle it. He'll be okay. So, let's let another guy who can't handle it well. And then you go, if you're a guy like Logan, you might be like, hey, that's part of it. I'm handling all of these things well, and you don't, I think if you're Dan, you don't want it to be because I know you'll handle it better than another player. You want to make sure he doesn't get screwed, because sometimes the nice guy kind of gets screwed. Right?
Yeah, it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease, if you will. So,
and I'm not saying that Brian Wu or anybody else is a squeaky wheel.
I think you called him squeaky,
but I mean, if that comes up in if that's part of the decision making, I think it would be one area where Dan probably needs to be careful and think about it and go, yeah, I don't want to not put Logan out there, because I think it would be better for another guy to have it when Logan's the guy that's actually deserving. And I'm not saying he is either, but I just think that's something you have to be careful of, to not take advantage of the fact that Logan is a really good teammate and just a cool guy.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually don't see any of the guys in that rotation pouting or
being
getting
selfish.
In their feelings about it. Yeah. Just we heard last year about how I think Logan said it himself that Luis Castillo was almost more excited than he was.
Right.
That he was the opening day starter, that he was super happy for Logan. So there was, anybody who was worried about, well, Luis is the Rock. You got to let him do it. Otherwise he's going to feel shunned or disrespected or whatever. And he couldn't have been more opposite and celebratory. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't know if they're going to base it on, certainly I know they won't base it on spring training numbers, because they all go out of their way to say, look, the numbers really don't mean anything. It's how does the guy look? How's the ball coming out of his hand? What's his velocity look like? And workload. That would be the one thing that I would look at with Brian Wu and think, all right, are they going to try to baby step him into the season? Because he exceeded his innings mark by 65 innings last year. Whew. I mean, it was only his third season, but the year before he threw 121 and a third innings. Last year he threw a 186 and 2/3. So he went far. He was like Bizzardo. I mean, like his career high in innings was just absolutely eclipsed, to say the very least. So I don't know, and then he had the pec injury toward the end. I don't know if they attribute that to overuse. He had all those starts of, at least 6 innings. Remember, he's on that run of however many starts in a row of at least 6 innings, and just he was piling them up. He was their workhorse. And you wonder if they're like, okay, we saw him sort of break down a little bit physically at the end of the season. We got to be more careful about it. So maybe they manage his innings a little differently to start the year. I don't know. Just sort of speculating on how they may approach him. And maybe that could be part of a reason, in addition to Logan just being a great pitcher, that they might start Logan is the opening day starter.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll see what they do. It'll be interesting to see. But the other question when it comes to the rotation is Bryce Miller. He was Dan again asked after the game yesterday about how Bryce felt after his bullpen that he threw.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bullpens now are to go as hard as he can, and if he feels something, then it's kind of time to back off again. And so it's just a matter of seeing that strength continuing to come back for him. So I think, again, I think it'll be another step forward for him and a step closer to getting back full time. But we'll just have to see how it goes. I mean, it really is a kind of wait and see how he feels when he's throwing. But it's been, the progression has been good. I think it's been going as planned. So don't expect anything different today.
Yeah. I've said in the past, I think that, the players have to be aware, and they have to tell, and they have to be honest and truthful about everything. But I think they have enough to measure these guys and get them on tape and the velo and everything to determine whether or not they're at full speed or not.
Yeah. With Bryce, it's going to be, we talked about this as well. Like, whatever, if this is going to be a start, okay, stop. All right, let's start again. Let's stop. Mm-hmm. Then just shut it down for a couple weeks, or whatever the doctors say is the proper amount of rest, of just, hey, no activity, he can jog, he can do, cardio, all that. Don't throw. Don't do anything that's going to put any stress on the oblique for this amount of time. If that's the remedy, if that's the prescription, so to speak, then do that instead of he's good, he threw a bullpen. We had a setback. He's a little sore. It doesn't feel right. You don't want it to be that back and forth that he had last year. And I know that was his arm, that was his elbow, that was a different thing. But just the unevenness of the season and the inability to just kind of develop a rhythm. If he starts out like Kirby did last year, start him out on the IL, I think it's clear he's not going to start the season in the rotation. Mm-hmm. There's just not enough time for him to get stretched out, get his work in before the season starts and his turn comes up. So I think you're going to see Emerson Hancock, presumably, in that 5 spot, which, by the way, I heard today he was touching 98. Heard Gary say that a few times, touching 97, 98.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little jump in velocity for Hancock. So
no kidding.
It doesn't mean he's going to be great, but he's a guy who's proven he can keep you in a game. That's what you're 5. Go out there, give me 5+ if you can, 3 runs or less. Just keep us in the game. Mm-hmm. Your expectation is a little different for that spot typically, but yeah, he's a guy who's proven he can do that. He can keep you in a game. He's a solid pitcher. He's not as dynamic as Wu or Gilbert or Kirby, but he's a guy who's a solid pitcher who can keep you in the game.
Yeah, one more thing about Bryce Miller, I would say that he seems like the most laid back and maybe the guy that's best at going through these kinds of things, just because of his personality, everything. That, everybody else, I mean, Logan's pretty fearsome. Kirby, we know. Wu, we talked about. I don't know about Castillo. But, I mean, it just seems like for Bryce Miller, he's going to be able to handle it okay, because it seemed like, last year, I don't know that he was that way, but, it just seems like he's at his age and his tenure in Major League Baseball that, he's a little bit more laid back and understands things. It's not like he's going to get, mentally out of sorts.
All right, everybody, that does it for us. I want to thank our guest today, Jon Morosi, for joining us on the program as he does each and every week. If you guys missed that conversation, you can find it on the podcast page at seattlesports.com. Click the podcast tab, scroll down to our picture, click on that. It'll be right there waiting for you after the show, and you can click subscribe. It makes your life very easy because it's free, and then it just shows up for you every day. You don't have to do anything, remember anything. It's a beautiful process. Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow with Wyman and Bob, Seattle Sports on 710.
Having one of those days where a little of this would make things so much better?
Fastball, strike three called. He got him looking. How about that for a Cactus League debut? Cade Anderson striking out the side.
We got you. You can stream every Mariners spring training game live for free on the Seattle Sports app. Making lives better through Mariners baseball, one
Goodbye baseball
at a time. Home of your American League West champion Mariners.
Imagine all that can happen in 5 years. Jobs may change, kids will grow, new memes are going to come out, but what if you had reliable, intelligent Wi-Fi and the price never changed for 5 years? Well, thanks to the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee, you don't have to worry about that part of your future. You're guaranteed 5 years of Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to your devices that need them the most. That finds and fixes any issues before you even notice them. It's like a super intelligent Wi-Fi that keeps you protected from online threats. You get incredible gaming speeds on multiple devices and no one battling for bandwidth. For the next 5 years, all your devices will be working in perfect harmony, and you get our best equipment with no annual contracts, no fees, and no strings attached. So even though kids will grow up and you still won't understand 6-7, your internet's going to stay sharp, reliable, and most importantly, the price will stay put. Plus, get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi, all with the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions do apply. Select plans only.
See country star Aaron Lewis and the State Liners at Muckleshoot Casino Resort, March 24th at 8 p.m. And now an added show on March 25th. He's a multi-platinum artist whose raw lyrics and powerhouse vocals have captivated fans for decades. Now he and his band, the State Liners, are coming to Muckleshoot Casino Resort. Get your tickets now to see Aaron Lewis at MuckleshootCasino.com.
Are you looking for a job or perhaps a better job? We're hiring at Pacific Power Batteries with formal training about batteries of all types, customer service, and safety in the workplace. If you're tired of some crappy job where you are now, visit PacificPowerBatteries.com. After 90 days, you'll be eligible for a paid health insurance premium, a health savings account, our bonus program, paid vacation, and more. Or stop in and talk with a store manager at Pacific Power Batteries, where good people sell reliable batteries. Come on by.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the...
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your...
windshield wipers. eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying... just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Dave Wyman here to talk about a revolutionary treatment for prostate cancer. It's Swedish, called CyberKnife. And who better to explain it than Dr. Meyer? He's part of the most experienced prostate cancer treatment team in the Northwest, specializing in Swedish CyberKnife. Dr. Meyer, what can you tell us about a prostate cancer diagnosis?
Well, being diagnosed with prostate cancer is life-changing, but realize that there are a lot of excellent treatment options.
What makes CyberKnife so effective? effective?
Well, the CyberKnife targets radiation precisely on the prostate cancer and spares the surrounding vital organs. Swedish CyberKnife patients report a better quality of life and fewer side effects during and after treatment compared to other options. Also, the treatment is completed in just 5